Welcome, everybody. Hi, folks. I'm Dan McDermott, your host of Google Plus Week, the longest running show on Google Plus, an unofficial look at the world's coolest social network. I was going to say it. Okay, so one quick programming note. I'll be on the Virginia Talk Radio Network with the eponymous URL virginiatalkradionetwork.com, talking the trial of former Virginia Governor Bob McDonnell, and also the a crazy thing involving witches and warlocks and groups of traveling gypsies and stuff like that. This crazy social story out of Front Royal. NBC News has been on it, and we just put our paper out. I'll be doing that tomorrow. That's at just after the CBS News at 11 a.m. Eastern, 8 a.m. Pacific on virginiatalkradionetwork.com. If you live in Virginia, you can probably listen on the radio. So that's happening. Also, please comment. We love comments. We put them up, and we talk about them, especially if they're funny or if you attack Alan or Craig. Those are our favorite comments. You can also tweet hashtag Google Plus Week, and we will see them. Google Plus Plus, not the plus sign. So anyway, let's introduce our panel. On the right, we have, after a hard day, we have Mr. Mike Ellis. Michael Ellis is...
Good evening, Dan.
Welcome. Mike's wearing glasses. I don't know if you could tell.
I have to because I can't see the computer screen without them.
Excellent. How come when Craig Shipp's on the screen, you always take the glasses off? Just kidding.
Because I know what Craig looks like. I don't have to see him.
Absolutely. Cadeas, welcome, sir. Cadeas
What's up?
Kalut, Newport Beach, California. Good to have you with us.
Yep.
Style in there. Craig Shipp joins us from Thurmont, Maryland. Camp David is the nickname given to the area.
Yeah, I can't comment as to where I may or may not be located,
But it's deep
and as to
underground.
whether or not that may or may not be the weekend residence of the President of the United States.
Note the glass. Do all of you at Camp David drink from... Impeccable timing. Joining us from Alan Furstenberg is New York. Welcome, Alan.
Good to see you too, Dan.
Always a pleasure.
I'm the only one who displays my glass, but Dan must have been drinking.
My astronaut tube works both ways.
Right.
Anyway, all right, so all that happened. Okay, so our first story takes us to Brazil, a beautiful place to visit. And this is really interesting. This story I think I first saw from Apple Insider. And basically, they have ordered Apple to prevent people from downloading the Secret app, which allows people to comment anonymously, ostensibly because it's based on your interpretation. Apparently, it's illegal. Article 5 of Brazil's constitution says it prohibits anonymous freedom of expression. Now, I guess you could argue for that because then people can't troll you anonymously, but it's kind of cool to have anonymous expression if you're under an authoritarian regime. So in the United States, we have a very, very liberal First Amendment. And we're sometimes shocked. In other countries like Brazil or Great Britain have a very different standard where folks can, like in the European Union, disappear from the web. But what's really interesting here is that they have also ordered Apple to remove it from existing installs. And apparently there is a way to do that. And the fine is, I think, 20,000 real a day, which is just shy of $9,000 a day if they don't do it. So they could obviously go on in perpetuity and not do it. But Alan Furstenberg, I know you're up on this. What do you think about the concept of not being able to express yourself anonymously because you were a big. I would draw a correlation to the NIM wars in the beginning of Google Plus, where folks wanted to have a pseudonym, and I think one example was in your case it was just your childhood nickname, Prisoner, not a reference to your status of freedom, but also we had a teacher on who said that she wanted to engage socially, but the kids saw that stuff and she was didn't want to have her middle school kids or whatever they were talking about that in school, what she did online. So what do you think about this, Alan? It's kind of a multifaceted, interesting issue.
As Google reaps, so they will sow.
Google, what do you mean?
Google's affected by this ruling too, don't forget.
Oh, okay.
The ruling affects Apple, Google, and Microsoft, forcing all of them to remove Secret or the equivalent app from their app stores and from their clients' computers.
Okay, because I was looking at Apple Insider. They didn't mention that, I don't think. Okay.
I don't know, the link that you shared with the rest of us did. I was kind of wondering why this doesn't, why this
Okay.
it wasn't brought up for our Monday show, which is our Android week at 9 p.m. Eastern and 6 p.m. Pacific. But besides that, this is what happens when companies' privacy policies don't look like they're really up to snuff. People moved away from Google and towards this thing, and now, countries want to rein them in, and they've got a tool to do so.
Yeah, I've seen. I can't imagine. I mean, there are 200 countries out there. Some are run by criminals. This could be a good racket.
So Dan, so you think it's okay for a company to violate local law?
It depends. Yeah, sometimes.
Really?
Really?
Absolutely. Yeah,
Good.
sure. If you can get away with
Good.
it, absolutely.
Oh, no. It's not if you can get away with it that determines if it's okay or not. Those are different questions.
Okay. You think when we went to India, for example, where everyone is on the take, and the prime minister resigned because he said he couldn't stop everyone from being on the take. There was so much corruption. He literally resigned because of that. When we arrived, you had a handler who would bribe the local people to get your luggage. Otherwise, they'd stand around. It would be half a day if you ever got it. So they knew the handler would pass the money out. Technically, that's illegal, but everybody does it. You want to get something built in a business started in Pakistan without bribing somebody? I lived in Liberia. Same thing. The police would stop you for attempted speeding. Luckily, they caught you before you had a chance, but you'd give them $20 and no problem, right? Yeah, I have no problem with violating local laws when they're, just not enforced and there's just a widespread air of corruption.
But Dan, they weren't. That's.
You asked
Wow.
me a broad thing. Is it ever okay to violate a country's laws? Yes.
But you answered.
Well, that's
and
not what I said, Dan. That's not what I said, Dan. I said, so you're okay with the company violating local laws?
I am. But as I said,
Well-
it depends.
But it's okay to. Why is it just suddenly justified to speed when what you just argued about is that there's corruption in the police department going
Okay,
after
let's do
people
a
who
retail
didn't?
version. Walmart, there's this big scandal. The U.S. government is upset with Walmart because they bribed officials in Mexico to get buildings built. That's how business is done in Mexico. I'm happy that a U.S. company was able to make money and some local officials were able to get their dole because that's the way it works in Mexico. Are we kidding ourselves here? This is not a modern democracy.
That doesn't make it okay, though.
I think it's okay.
So you have absolutely no problem with Apple or Google or Microsoft violating U.S. law.
I mean,
Whatever
I think
U.S.
that's
law they
different.
choose.
I'm a jingoist, man. I'm pro-U.S. and I'm pro any country that's friendly to us. And if you're going to tolerate mass corruption, if that's the way it goes, do you have a problem with someone smuggling a Bible?
Massively corrupt? We
yeah,
are so off topic already, and we're just in the first story. Oh my god!
It's a multifaceted story, Alan. Would you have someone giving somebody a Torah or a Bible to someone in a country where that might be illegal, where they might behead you for that?
Getting back to the root of the story, we're talking about privacy, right? Is that one of the things we're talking about?
Sort of. It's the app secret, which allows you to post anonymous comments, and to defend the actual case. Go ahead.
I find it hard to believe that people, as of now, August 22nd, 2014, still think that there can be anything even remotely close to privacy on the internet. I don't care how you're using the internet. In any way, shape, or form, it is not private. Whatever you put out there is not private. Whatever information you get out there is not private. It's gone. Forget about it. That ship has sailed.
There's
no
that's
such
not
thing.
entirely true. I mean, ask Edward Snowden.
That
He's
is
got a
entirely
laundry list
true.
of apps.
There's no such thing as private anything on the internet.
Cybernaut says just give them a thumbs up and shut down access to all your services from said country. Problem solved. The problem is that would be against the shareholders' interest because they make a lot of money in Brazil. Brazil's no joke. It's no rinky-dink country. There's a lot of money to be made in Brazil. That's where Orkut was. I think they have a lot of employees. Google does in Brazil. So you don't want to bite your nose off to spite your face because there'll be some other issue down the road. Although this approach did kind of work with the folks who wanted their links removed, the news organizations. They said, okay, then they compromised. And Alan, your camera's not working. So
He's probably got it muted.
He's coming back. Cadeus, what do you think?
Well, okay, well, on which question? Because y'all was all over the place. So which
First
which
of all,
question?
you can go ahead and agree with me. That's okay.
I think
Okay,
to say
well,
a blanket. I mean, you can gossip at a coffee shop table, right?
But here's the thing, and it's funny because me and my friend was having a discussion about this before this actually was a story because he lives in Israel, and he was saying how he sees that the Israeli government is probably going to ban secret in Israel. And I was telling him, my argument was, why would they do that? It has nothing to do with anything that they even need to get involved in. But his perspective is that there's anonymous bullying that's going on in the Israeli community, at least, with the use of secret. And so it's kind of interesting that that's kind of what happened. Sounds like what was going down the line in Brazil. Should they ban the app? I mean, a country can do whatever they want to do, so I'm not concerned with that, but I think they're targeting the wrong people. If they don't want secret in their country, then they need to talk to the distributor of secret and not Apple, Google, Microsoft, and whoever else. If I'm the one that built secret...
Microsoft are the distributors of secret.
Yeah, I guess so. I guess in a twisted way they
and
are.
probably the only way that
Not in a twisted way, they are!
No, they
Pretty
well...
damn blatant they are!
when you have an app and you make
Well, because
is that
my thought process on it is, like, if you have an issue with the app, you don't talk to Apple. Apple didn't make the app. Microsoft didn't make the app. Google didn't make the app. You talk to the app developer. That's your issue. But
if
then
there's but Cadeus, that doesn't work out. I mean, I'm sure whatever company develops secret does not have a physical presence in Brazil, and Brazil can't go after them. Probably they're using Google AdWords to monetize the app.
And that's the aspect of it
So
that I don't think
you go after the person who you have access to, and Google probably does have offices and a bunch of employees. That's why Orkut was popular there. I think a better analogy.
That's what I'm saying. That's why I don't think that that's fair. Like, why are you? Google has nothing to do with it. All they do is put up a site and people download their apps from it. So I don't see why this is Google's fault that this app is being used.
They're not blaming Google. They're not blaming Google.
Well, finding them $9,000 a day. That sounds like blaming
them that amount a day if they don't remove it.
Right.
Alan,
so let's go with this example. In Saudi Arabia, you run a newsstand. Your newsstand sells pornography. Is it your fault that you're selling pornography?
Okay.
Yes.
I see what you're saying.
They're not going to go after Larry Flint. They can't. Alan, this is akin to remember the problem that BlackBerry had in India with after the terrorist attack from Pakistani militants in Mumbai. They had a problem. India had a problem with BlackBerry's servers because the government couldn't crack them. They were secure. That was BlackBerry's claim to fame. And so the CEO went over there and there was this big fight. I think it's sort of like that. All right.
So let's just say for the sake of discussion that let's say I was the one that made secret and Google pulls Secret off my store, and I put it up on my website so people in Brazil can continue to download it. We still have an issue. Like, that's not solving the problem going after Google.
It would get most of the people to stop using it.
Well, if people want the app, they're going to find out how to get the app.
Do we know who made Secret, or is it a secret?
People aren't that smart today, as I hate to be the one to break the news to you.
That's
If you
unfortunate.
can't get it easily, then they're probably not going to get it.
We should move, but Sai says, do you go after the drug lord, the mules, the pushers, or the users? All of them. It's worked so well. Back to Mexico, full circle. Okay, next up, Google has a
Clearly,
growth.
that program.
Google has a growth plan based on kids, according to a report, and I've seen this in a couple different things now. Alan, I forget the name of the law, but what's that law that says?
COPA, the Child Online Privacy Protection Act.
And 13's the cutoff, right? That's why many services. What's the reason many services have that 13, not 12, not 14? And then
Because the law says it has to be 13.
that could be a thing, but it's only 9 in Brazil. Just kidding. So what's going on here?
Well, I mean, what the story is talking about is apparently there is some information saying that Google is working on finding a way to offer services legally to those under the age of 13. I think it's interesting. It's something that I've been advocating for over 3 years now. And I am completely convinced that if Google does offer this service, they're going to screw it up. I have no confidence whatsoever that they can pull this off.
Would it be you'd almost have to create a subset of Google Plus, right? You'd have to start identifying accounts with inappropriate content,
No,
right?
no.
Would you get a parent's approval first? I mean, how would you implement this if you were in charge?
How would I implement this if I was in charge? It would be similar to a page that has a page manager.
Can you elaborate?
Sure. I mean, currently, we have this concept of Google Plus Pages. Google Plus Pages have more than one person that manages that Pages account. Each manager has full access to it. They can get notifications on it. They essentially know what's going on that page, which is essentially what you want for an account that has parental monitoring.
Bottom line is 13 and under, or 13, 12-year-olds, they have a lot of disposable income as an aggregate group. That's what this is about. And they're heavily influenced by advertising, more so than us geezers.
Yeah, and consider also that, I mean, how much app purchases and spending go to kids who are 5, 6, 7? You know, that's where I think Google is going to screw this up, is that what they really need to do is make it so that it's easy for a parent to install software on the kid's tablet or on the kid's device. And I don't, they've tried 3 times now and they screwed it up every time. So maybe they'll get it right this time. I just doubt it. That's all.
Okay.
I never understood about all this discussion of minors on the internet. It seems like to me, if there are predators out there that are going after these minors in some way, shape, or form, it seems like to me it would be a lot easier to catch them than if we didn't have the internet and if they weren't using the internet to do this. It seems like law enforcement would be able to track these people down one way or the other and put them underneath the jail. So
Yeah, but I think
I just don't
they can't
understand
get
that.
to- they can't get to them fast enough, and parents
Why
can't
can't
keep.
they, though? The internet's very fast. Why can't they get to them rapidly? I don't understand that.
I don't think it's that simple to track them down through the internet. I think it's possible.
Really?
I just don't think it's that easy.
Alan, can you, because I don't know, I mean, can you answer that? I mean, if somebody, let's say a girl's on Facebook or whatever, and some creep is reaching out to her or whatever, how hard would it be for law enforcement to find that creep?
Well, you're the one that keeps asserting that there's no privacy on the internet.
That's right. I don't think there is.
Well, apparently law enforcement thinks you're wrong, because it's
So
pretty
you're
difficult.
saying they can't track them down?
Not that they can't, but it's incredibly difficult to do so.
Really?
It's not trivial,
Really? Okay.
really.
I think it's fair to say it's not trivial,
Really? Okay.
and each instance requires a significant effort to do it.
Let's put it this way. In the most simple case of somebody doing extremely basic camouflaging of them, of creating a fake account, it's not trivial. For anybody who has a quarter of a brain and has researched anonymity services, has researched masking services, have researched VPN solutions, they're making it orders of magnitude more difficult. And again, it's not
I tell you what, I think I could nail them. I could set them up. I could arrange for a meeting for them to meet with this girl and so on and so forth. I could set the son of bitches up and put them underneath the jail myself, and I'm not that smart, and I'm not in law enforcement. So I just don't understand. I just don't get it.
And you also don't need a court order to do whatever you want to do.
Well, they shouldn't need to go after these jerks. They shouldn't need anything. They should just be able to put them underneath the jail and be done with them.
We got some comments. It's hard to do at scale, though, Craig. I hear what you're saying. Cy,
Well, how many of them are there? My God, are there a million of them? How many of them are there?
I don't know.
I mean, if there's a million, then we should figure out a way to do it at scale.
Cybernaut says Khan Academy has a good model. Google implements the Real Parent program. And then Kirill says, Cadeas, you're absolutely right. Cadeas hates hearing that. People understand. That's why people need more support. And I love this. This is what I was talking to you about, Craig. Captain Euro. No offense, but I'd rather listen to this than 3 hours about the latest Google Plus photo features, even if this is Google Plus week. Just kidding, of course.
Well, did you pay that? Did you pay that individual to say that?
That was funny. All right,
It sounds like a setup comment to me.
but there are ways. I mean, there's that, like the tablets. They have, the kids are on the internet. They are on the internet, on their phone, on their tablet, on their computer. Mom's not always in the room.
Yeah,
We've got to figure a way for them to.
That's why I
benefit and
say
learn in a
I
safe
think we're
way.
looking at the wrong side of the equation. I don't think we should be looking at the kids being on the internet and that they shouldn't be on the internet. I think we should be looking at how do we put the perverts underneath the jail. Okay? That's what we should be looking at. Get rid of the son of a bitches. Excuse my French.
I think it's sons of bitch. Is it sons of bitch?
Whatever they
or
are.
Sons of bitches, or
Put them right underneath the daggone
like
thing.
attorneys general. Okay, so he's getting fired up. I'm surprised you don't have a knife. For there's your screen
He does
cap.
have a knife, of course.
Yes, that's just the random one of the many next to him. Okay, so Google buys Gecko Design for Google X hardware projects. If you go to their website, it's actually not the best design, but they do stuff for Dell, for HP, for Williams Sonoma. They design gadgets, and they're attractive looking. Is that
Dan, before you go on to this next story, I have to share something with you here that's pertinent to what I just showed you on my screen share there. Can you see that? Okay, so that's the mantra.
be polite, be professional, but have a plan to kill everybody you meet?
There you go. Do that, and then everything else will be fine. Take care of itself.
I'm scared that you have that handy. All right, so Google has bought
I'm
Gecko
glad.
Design for Google X. What do you think they have up their sleeve, or is this something specific, Alan, or they just want to bring them on, or maybe they had an interesting, wildly
I don't think there's
speculating?
anything specific to it. I mean, I think here's the thing. If you see Google X as their long-term vision thing, I think they're beginning to realize that their long-term vision needs to include good visual design. I think that's all there is to this, basically. I don't think it's anything specific. It's clear that Google X has, in general, been focusing more on design. But I don't think there's anything specific to this.
Okay.
Liz, what are your thoughts on it?
Oh, I got to do a thing, a plug for Brad after this. Go ahead, Cadiz.
On the Gecko designs, I've never really looked at anything that I knowingly know that they have made, so I don't kind of know what they're gonna do. I don't know where this is gonna go. I have no direction on this whatsoever. So
Okay,
hopefully it turns out to be something good.
So I understand, Kadesh, you're going to be on Tech Webcast, which is getting ready to start, or has just started. Is that incorrect information?
No, I did not know I was doing that today. So
Not
okay.
today, but soon, right? In a few weeks or something?
Okay, yeah, I guess so.
Okay. maybe I'm the conduit for the invite. I don't know. But
Cadeus, it's a big deal. So I mean, I don't want you to freeze up or anything. As soon as the show starts, sometimes that happens. It's a big thing. Tech Webcast.
Just because it happened to you, Greg, it doesn't happen to the rest of us.
It's not like being on this show, okay? It's the major leagues. All right.
All right.
Nothing against Dan. I mean, this is a hell of a show. Hell of a show. But Tech Webcast, whole new level.
Longest running show in Google Plus.
Yeah, so it's techwebcast.info. Check them out. They just had their 300th episode a week or two ago.
It's
So-
pretty much the real deal.
#1 podcast in Australia and
In all of Asia.
all of the surrounding countries. Eastern Asia.
All of
Cadeus,
the,
I've never been on Tech.
all of the East.
So that tells you how.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's Michael. It's you got to be at the top of your game. You know what I'm saying? I'm
All right.
Back to that point.
not saying that you're not way up there, but Tech Webcast,
No, they don't let people like me in. That's the point I'm making.
it's a big deal. Yeah, Tech Webcast.
Okay, so next up is I never used Google Wave, and I don't think I've heard of Sandstorm. Maybe I have, but I haven't played with it. So,
But you still can.
huh?
Dan. You still can.
Use Google Wave?
Yeah, isn't that the point of Sandstorm? Now you can
Yeah.
use
Well,
it
what they're
again.
saying here, their story says that I guess Sandstorm they're replicating legacy products, and I'm not sure what the point is here, but I know Wave was very popular among a certain group of people, and Linda Laurie, when she was on our show, she's a popular Google Plus personality. She was big into Wave, and she said that Google Plus is basically
Yep.
Wave 2.0. That's what happened to Wave. So you want to talk about that, Alan?
Well, for starters, it's more like Wave was Google Plus 0.1. Wave was an incredibly immature product that had a really awesome back end and a front end that dated from 30 years ago. The front end for Wave was utter crap. Let's be blunt here. The technology behind it was great, and we now see that technology as come through in an actually useful form in products like Google Plus and Google Docs, Google Drive, a number of other places where we're seeing it come to light. Hangouts are using it, for example.
Could you explain for folks who don't know, in a couple sentences, exactly what Wave was? Or wait.
Wave, at its heart, was a communication protocol that let you do real-time communication amongst a number of people. The fact that it's included in this product, along with some other ones, is more to kind of let people create their own community server without having to trust Google or somebody else.
Sai says Wave was a great way to brain dump and be able to find it later.
I'm not sure I agree with that, but if that's how you used it, it's certainly possible. I found Wave a great way to have conversations with people that made no sense. And
Okay.
I've been doing real-time CMC for 25 years, and it was utter crap.
So what is Sandstorm? And they're
So what-
they're trying to replicate it. They don't have the original code, right?
No, so, well, they do have the original code. What Google did when they terminated the project was give the source code for Wave to the Apache project. So it was reborn as Apache Wave, which after a few people said, ooh, I can run Wave on my own server, nobody cared about it. What Sandstorm is saying is, hey, this is a useful piece of technology, let's incorporate it with all of these other useful pieces of technology that duplicate other Google and other functions. So you've got Apache Wave, you've got a real-time collaborative document editor, a real-time collaborative spreadsheet editor. So you've got these collaboration tools all easily put in one place that you can very easily install. That's the theory behind Sandstorm.
They didn't do that with Reader, though.
No, they didn't open source Reader, and that's probably because Reader was a pile of, fetid dingoes' kidneys.
Sure was popular among journalists.
Well, hey, then it was popular fetid dingoes' kidneys. And, we're talking journalists here. We're not exactly talking a high class of society. Clearly, he's not listening to me.
I just caught that. A rare Alan dig.
I heard it.
Okay,
A rare
so
Alan dig, yeah.
okay, cool. So we're all excited
So
about.
we've got this post from Cy saying, I can barely find my own post in Google Plus when I know within a week when I posted and some of the words I used. I'm sorry, Cy, but I could barely find a post on Wave within 1 minute of posting it. Wave was horrible on things like that, especially if you were talking with other people.
The
You
safe.
just had this utter mishmash of conversation.
It's a problem when I'll come back. I got 27 notifications. There might be 3 things that somebody wants me to read, and then I've got to open it in a tab and save it until I can read it. If I'm walking out the door, that's a problem. There's no save it for later. Although that's a problem too, because bookmarks, eventually you have 12,000 bookmarks. You can't find anything really. You can be creative and say, I'm looking for this search term among sites I visited, that sort of thing, but that's kludgy.
And they give you no tools. They give you no query language that lets you search rationally, like within these dates and within, and contains these words and was posted by me and contains comments from Pam Adger, yada, yada, yada. The things that I'm likely to remember to let me find something again, searching in Google Plus still sucks.
Okay, so we all agree there's a problem there. All right, let's get through these. Alan's got to leave in a bit. Google Now shows alternate flights when yours gets delayed. This is just sort of another neat little thing. Sometimes they announce stuff, sometimes they don't, or often people just notice it. Alan, you fly around, and Gadesh, you fly. Michael, you fly all the time. Is this cool? What's the deal?
I don't usually get delayed flights because I usually leave early in the morning. So I'm usually the first flights out. So I don't know when I'll ever have to actually use that.
I'm not going to jinx it by saying something like that.
Well, and when you generally fly private, you don't have as much of a problem. So
You guys all fly first class and on private jets and all that stuff.
Cadeus generally flies private. He does
Says the
not.
guy who flew first class to Beijing, Michael.
Okay, I have to admit that's true. But I don't. I have found that the notifications I get so far on Google Now are at very best a day late and $1 short, or a yuan short, perhaps I should say. And it's difficult because I don't know if it's because I'm new to Google Now that it's not getting me exactly, or if that's just the way it works. But I read posts about it, and I hear people saying how great it is, and it's so wonderful, it's anticipating everything I do, and yada, yada, yada. And I constantly get the inappropriate or improperly placed recommendation from Google Now about what I should be doing next, or I'm out somewhere and it tells me you need to leave now to make it to your destination, and oftentimes it's I need to go now because that's how long it takes to drive there or to walk there, and what I'm really going to do is ride there because it's in a certain distance where I would always ride. It doesn't seem to be learning that that's the way I transport myself.
I think
don't
that's
know.
a setting actually inside your Google Now. That's a setting.
It
So, like-
is, but it's a permanent setting, irrespective of how far you're going. So if it's time for me to leave to go to Indianapolis from New York City, it tells me how long it takes to ride my bicycle there, which seems kind of irrelevant.
And I kind of know what you're talking
Actually,
about.
I think that's a
because
larger problem that just calendar has in general, is that it has an imperfect sense of how long you need to pad things out. And I think this is especially true for you, Michael, because you're in a city that has incredibly good transportation. For the average American that has the world's shittiest transportation options,
Right.
it's probably accurate.
But if you okay, so if you're everywhere else in the country, and you normally drive everywhere, you get in your car and go everywhere, then there's only one setting you ever need, because I can assure you no one in Rockford, Illinois walks anywhere, and no one in Rockford, Illinois rides a bicycle anywhere, and God forbid they should ever think about having public transportation. So driving is the only option. So Google Now is probably perfect there, and maybe that covers 90% of the country.
And I know what you're talking about on that, Michael Ellis, because when I went to the last time I was in Japan and I started using Google Now and everything, it was giving me, and even in Glass, it was giving me recommendations for drive times. And I went into settings and changed it to walking in public transit stuff. And so then it was doing that, but then when I got back to California, it was still trying to get me those, and I was like, why is it still doing that? I remembered, the setting, and I went and switched it back.
Yeah.
So I know what you're talking about on that.
But
I don't know how they would fix that.
If I'm going to walk, if I'm going somewhere in my neighborhood, then walking's a perfectly sensible choice, and it could choose that for me. But if I'm going to go 5 miles away, has it ever seen me walk 5 miles? Never. So it should know that I'm not going to walk, and it hasn't seen me drive in 5 years. So it should know that I'm not going to drive. It should probably
Michael,
guess
this
that I'm
is
gonna ride a bicycle.
this is the whole thing. I mean, this is endemic in Google. I mean, I start typing in Dan McDermott because I want to find his profile to see a recent post, and it makes
good
me
luck.
type Dan space MC before it populates Dan McDermott in there. As soon as I type DA, it should know that I'm often going to his profile, and it should put him right in there.
Which it does do
On the
if you're in
search, on Google
Gmail.
search is a lot better about that.
Getting to Michael's
Yes, so
point
they
that
know
it's
how to do it.
getting.
Yes, they should be able to do it.
I swear to God, I'm
They
not
know they
making this up.
already know how to do it.
So Michael
Sorry,
said
Dan.
it's a day late and $1 short. So I just went to Google Now. The first top notification is an event for the longest hangout, July 4th, 2013 at 7 p.m. It's alerting me, and it wants me to email guests. So this is 1 year
idea.
and 18 days old, and it comes
Okay,
up
Dan?
every few days.
It comes up. So slide down and refresh for me real quick, and tell me if it's still there. I have never
Slide
seen
it off.
that.
Let me get a screen capture of it first. Then it thinks the local Walmart shopping center where Target is and everything, where I frequently go to buy stuff. You want me to swipe it off?
Yeah, don't swipe it off. Slide it down and refresh. I just want to see what happens when you refresh. So slide your whole, like you're in Google Plus, just slide the whole thing down, and you should see the line going across refreshing. Is it still there?
I can't. It's refreshing my If I refresh it, it does my notifications bar.
No, not that high. Just the white section. Just like if you were using the Google Plus app.
What the hell? Where?
Now-
Why should you have to
There it
know
goes.
that?
I want to see if it's just
Where do I slide?
okay. Touch where it says the longest hangout and pull it all the way down.
Pull it down. Touch that.
Yes. Now pull it down.
Nothing's
Do it
happening.
again. Oh, there it goes. Looks like it was okay. So it is not going anywhere.
Oh, okay.
Wow.
It just did something. Yeah. If I
Yeah, but it still didn't go anywhere. Huh.
Yeah,
I've
so-
never had that happen
This is
before.
a handy reminder that a year and 18 days ago. Then it's got time to work, which is not where I work. It's got the weather, which is very helpful. iPhone 6 release date. Okay. Big Bang Theory. Someone are divorcing. I've never seen the show. I could give a damn. Jennifer Lawrence to join Hateful Eight. Who cares? I watched Judy Woodruff and Gwen Ifill do the ice bucket challenge.
Dan, hang
because
on,
I haven't
hang on,
seen
Dan.
enough of those videos.
Dan, have you swiped them away or said that you're not interested in it?
Yeah,
it
you got to
learn?
choose some of the stuff and say I'm not interested. It's got to learn you. You got to make it learn you first. So you need to be kind of giving it
Learn you?
cues.
Kadeus, we need to talk
Fair
about
enough.
It thinks I'm interested in Cubs baseball.
So tell it you're not.
Yeah, but Kadeus, why does it think that to begin with? That's the real
It
problem.
knows everything. It knows what
Dan-
time I take a
Dan
leak. It knows. I
has
mean, it
searches-
knows everything
Dan
about me.
has done searches at some point for some of this stuff.
I don't know
Or
who
stuff
Jennifer. I
that's
mean, I've heard
remotely
the
connected to this stuff.
Big Bang Theory.
On
I've never
Cubs
watched. I've never
baseball?
done a search on
Really
it. I've never
remotely.
heard these names. Ryan Sweeting, Kaylee Cuoco. I don't know how to pronounce. I've never typed these names in there.
If you want something that's really going to work, okay, it's
Oh,
called
God.
Siri. Okay, get one of these. And get
Oh,
Siri.
it's easy for Siri to work because it doesn't do diddly squat.
It does everything I need it to do, except
It just tells jokes. That's the only thing Siri does.
Hey, remember, you already said you don't do anything but use your phone to make calls, Craig.
that's right. I have her make calls. I have her check the weather. I have her check the weather. I'll tell her. I'll ask her questions, and she gives me the answer. I mean, she's damn good.
All right,
Really?
let me advance it. The
Here's
next
the thing.
thing.
When,
Go ahead,
when
Alan.
I ask Google voice search questions, I get the answers. That's easy. That's easy shit. You want to answer questions? That's, who cares? I mean, you want to know good?
Right.
Okay, I'll tell you what's on my Google now right now, since we're doing this for some godforsaken reason. For starters, it's telling me what the currency conversion rate between the dollar and the yuan is. And it's doing that because a few minutes ago, on my browser, I asked for the currency conversion. So it's now telling me on Google Now as well. For the record, by the way, it's 16 cents, the yuan.
Well, if it was really smart, it would tell you to get the heck off of this show, that it's a train wreck.
I swiped that card away a year or two ago.
Okay, so let the part two of this topic.
No, Dan, you told us what was worthless on your Now. So now I get to tell you what's useful on mine.
Excellent.
Okay.
Okay, it's telling me about people's birthdays, which sometimes I care about and sometimes I don't. It's telling me about a website that I visit every other day. It's telling me it's been updated and I didn't take a look at it today, so that was nice to know. It's giving me updated search results for some planning that I'm planning on doing for the rest of the week. It's giving me the weather. It's telling me about local restaurants, which admittedly I don't care about. And it's giving me a small list of stories of topics that I've previously searched about. It
But
is not
here's
just
the difference
relevant,
in
it is
between-
incredibly
here's the
relevant today.
Here's the difference in between you, Alan, and Dan. You have set your Google Now up. Dan has not. So it's
Here's
literally
the
making
thing.
assumptions.
Here's the thing. I haven't set mine up, really.
Craig didn't have to set up his
Yeah.
iPhone. It just
Yeah,
did
but it doesn't do anything but make calls, so that's a useless point. Craig doesn't do anything.
Actually, it's pretty solid. Okay, so if you throw it this way, with a nice twist of the wrist, and they're only, let's say, 6 feet away from you, and you nail them right somewhere in here, it can take somebody out.
Yeah,
I'm
but
sorry,
that's what
I
you
don't-
have lines
I'm
for.
trying to nail
Craig.
people with my phone. I usually use my phone to get info, so I'm not trying to nail people yet. So
Well, you live in a palace, and you probably have security.
Okay, so there's this other story, and I want to go to this. If you're a media company, if you are a media company, your mobile competition isn't other news entities; it's Google Now. Here's an example. This is Washington, NBC4 Washington. We have a good relationship with them, and I look down here, the top video, same thing yesterday because they did a story that we did. Friday evening forecast, top video. Why would anyone need to go to appointment television to find out the weather when you go to Google Now? It's right there. I don't get that. but they love watching that weather forecast with the guy regurgitating stuff from the National Weather Service, which is what they all do.
By the way, Dan, Brad just commented in chat to me that he's been watching the entire show and it's the best show you've ever done. He said it's just off the charts, excellent.
Thank you. Thank you very much. So what they're saying here is it's true that the fact that the top video on the news site is the Friday evening forecast says that these commodity news things are very popular, and that Google now, as it matures, is going to be able to deliver most of this stuff because they do know every single thing about you. Alan, you got a comment and whatever you want to say on this?
No, I didn't really have a comment. I think it's serious competition, but remember, there also still need to be producing the data. You know, somebody needs to be producing the stories for Google now to direct you to.
In other words, it's easy to aggregate. The man on the street sitting in the courthouse all day following the trial that generates a story that everyone else regurgitates.
Right, and remember, Google,
very little cost.
as always, Google isn't making money by you looking at Google Now. They're making money by you going to the website.
Where there are presumably Google AdWords.
But they could eventually, Alan, make money directly from Google Now. I mean, they could make it so that when you ask a question or whatever you do or whatever, they could have a pre-roll. I mean, they could say this is brought to you by JKJ Chevrolet.
While that's possible, I think Google is already, Google's done the numbers and they realize they'll lose money from that. And they probably will.
I'm just saying, if
Why?
it got to the point where it was just so super popular that people were totally addicted to it and are totally going to use it, and they came to the conclusion that they could insert some ads here and there and it wouldn't kill them, then they could certainly do it. And these are early days, so we don't know where this is going to head.
But once again, I mean, the beauty of Google, the beauty of Google search is that they can rake in money hand over fist by getting people off their website as quickly as possible.
Yes, but Alan, Google search is a perfect example. They're inserting ads in there now, and in the beginning they weren't, right? Remember the old days when you used to do a search on Google and they weren't inserting ads above the...
But the point of this is to very simply and quickly, because people don't have the patience on mobile devices, but I wonder if, Craig or Alan, if, let's say Mashable has Google AdSense installed, so Google's making money if you click on an ad on Mashable, but the Daily Beast doesn't. I wonder if Google Now will deliver up the Mashable version of the story, knowing that they're going to make more money, or if they're going to look and see which site delivers more revenue for Google, and if there's 17 sites with NBCNews.com, Daily Beast, Recode, if they all have the same story, if they know that you're more likely to, when you go to Recode, to click on an ad or whatever, if they are more likely to deliver it that way.
They're
Although,
already
given
doing
the
that.
tradition of
Question we need
silos,
to
I
know
would
is
guess
marketing.
they're not that sophisticated.
That's how they operate, Dan. That's already how they operate. So that's how they operate on everything, like YouTube videos and so forth, that they will surface videos that have a higher click rate because that's what they want to do. And just the same thing with the search results. If you get a real high click rate, right, they will surface that result more because they figure that's what people want. So they're already doing that. But I think the question is, how are they going to, what we were talking about a moment ago, is how are they going to monetize something like Google Now on mobile devices? And I can think of a whole bunch of different ways they could do it down the road once people are totally addicted to it and are using it, instead of things like listening to the radio in their car or whatever. There's a lot of ways they could do it.
But I agree. Google Now is a serious information delivery system, because you go to Google and then as long as they deliver the most relevant things. And I don't think I should have to tweak it to tell them I'm not interested in the Big Bang Theory when I've never ever done anything.
It's not. Well, Dan, here's the thing. You don't know what you did, but it's picked up on your pattern. So you need to at some point say, look, I really don't care about this. It isn't tweaking it. It's just saying, go away.
Well, but clearly Google can improve as far as the relevancy and knowing who we are and what we're interested in and so on and so forth. Like the example I gave earlier, typing in Dan's name, it should know right away that that's who I'm going to and should surface that. So I have to think that they're going to improve on this. I mean, it's like trying to find Hangouts on Air. It's the same thing, right? We can't discover these things. It's very difficult. So hopefully they'll figure it out so that we can find what we want and so that we are delivered information that we want. Like tomorrow I'm going to a big event. I'd love to know when the rain is supposed to start. Everybody's saying it's supposed to rain tomorrow here. And I'd like to know kind of like the timeline on it a little bit more accurately. And there are some websites I can go to that'll do that. But you know, it's not that great.
Okay, so
Craig, you really should be using Google Now then, because
Okay, so if you ask Google now, when is it going to rain here in Washington, D.C.?
no, Craig, you're already thinking about it wrong. You got it totally backwards. You're in this Siri
So
mindset.
they should tell
that you
me.
need
They
to
should
actually
just
ask a
volunteer.
question.
So they should volunteer.
no,
They
Craig.
do.
Craig, Craig, look at me. Okay, here.
Dan, what
look
does
at my
yours
phone.
say?
Look at my phone. Okay, what you start at just at the regular Google Now, right?
Okay.
And then from Google, God, this freaking rotate thing. Remind me, I got to go to the longest hangout, July 4th, 2013. Okay, so you have this thing.
Card away.
You click on the card, Craig, right?
Yeah.
And then
Yeah.
it takes you to their little thing, and you can select a time. Like right here, it's set for.
Well, I mean, I
11
can do
a.m.
that on my iPhone.
Yeah, and then you click 4 a.m. and it's going to rain then, 9 a.m., 69 degrees, 2 p.m., it's rainy and 70. So you can kind of scroll
So
through
they're
the
basically
day.
saying at this point it's going to rain all day tomorrow.
Yeah, sucks to be you. But that's in Bentonville, Virginia. You're in Camp David.
It's going to be the same thing here.
I'm sure there's not a dark cloud over Camp David. So we learned that Google is asked, according to Torrent Freak, which knows something about pirate stuff, we've learned that Google is asked to remove 1 million pirate links per day. Can you imagine, Craig, if you had to? I mean, obviously, there's not like a room full of people, and they've automated it, and you get a lot of false piracy claims. I get them. I don't.
False piracy or real piracy?
No. When you put up a video and someone claims, this has been claimed by so and so, and I then have to submit. Sometimes you have to submit paperwork. It's kind of
I
a
see.
pain. But anyway, so I don't think anyone's surprised by this. I just wanted to note that. Worldwide, I wouldn't think that'd be a big deal. Obviously, it isn't. Okay, I know, Alan, what you want to talk about this. Microsoft's. I thought we had 2 Chrome stores. I guess one's been moved. Microsoft's first Chromebook killer is a $200 HP laptop. Go ahead, prisoner.
Yeah, so this is an interesting one that all my Microsoft friends sent me, saying that, hey, not only is there this laptop that runs a full version of Windows 8.1, but it's the same price as a Chromebook. It's even a little cheaper, and it has more features. It has better features to it. So, it's got a bigger hard disk, a bigger solid-state disk, for example, and better CPU. And I thought this was interesting and impressive until I went and looked at the specifications, the system requirements for Windows 8.1, and realized that the only reason why it has those better specs is because
It has to have them.
it has to have them in order to run it all.
Right.
So
Yep.
the minimum memory for Win 8.1 is 2 gig memory. The minimum hard disk for Win 8.1 is a 20 gig hard disk. So a Chrome OS, which normally ships with a 16 gig hard disk, won't cut it. It needs the better CPU because otherwise it's gonna, bog down like crap, which it probably is going to anyway.
Yeah, I think the bigger point, Alan, is the good thing about the Chromebooks is their lack of all these other things, right? Their simplicity. They're a good browser, a camera, whatever the basic things are that you need to use Google services and to browse the web and so forth, no more, no less. to me, that's the real selling point of a Chromebook.
Well,
And
it's not. And I think that you're absolutely right, Craig. Although increasingly we're seeing that there are real applications that people really can use on a. You notice how Dan has stepped away from the camera when we talk about ghetto devices?
Look, the price point is the selling point of a Chromebook. Let's not kid ourselves. That's the reason schools are choosing it. You think if they could choose a MacBook Pro for the same price as a Chromebook, that they wouldn't do it? You kidding me?
Well, but here's no, Dan. There's a lot more to the Chromebook than just the fact that it's $200, which is a major factor.
I agree, but I'm just saying.
school
Craig said the
Battery
selling
life,
point is
simplicity,
Yeah,
instant
yeah.
startup. There's a lot of things, right?
the cloud
management.
thing.
One of the
It lends
big
itself
things-
to it lends itself for the teacher to and the kids to be able to collaborate on documents, and the teacher can look at all the kids and grade their work from home. I mean, it's very cool for schools.
But it's also the fact that it's easy to manage them. The management system that they sell to schools as well is killer. It's awesome. And the equivalent on the Windows side costs a few $1,000s. And it's not easy to use. It's garbage.
Yeah, if people think that Android's a bag of hurt, just try Windows on for a test drive. I mean, my goodness.
I'm amazed you could pull that one off, Craig. That's a good one.
Speaking of Android, every Monday at 9 p.m. Eastern, 6 Pacific, we host our Android Week, where we talk about Android. Thus, the name.
You mean you have another award-winning weekly show?
Yes.
That's amazing.
So there. Okay. So anything else on this? Is there anything? Could you?
Did
Okay.
you say Monday nights at 9 o'clock?
Eastern time, 6 Pacific.
That's the same time as the Hooping Live show, which is hosted by Audrey Scherer, hoopinglive.com. Interesting.
That's funny.
Wow,
We're
I
sitting
didn't-
here promoting competing
good.
shows for you and Brad. That's okay. Okay. So question,
Well,
Alan.
Brad said that this is the best show so far that he's ever seen of Google Plus Week.
Question, Alan. If you have this system that the back end that the teachers would access and the administrators and stuff at the school, and you got a bunch of kids with Chromebooks and they're doing their work and collaborating, and the teachers grading and whatever they're doing. If I showed up with one of these HP Microsoft 8.1 $200 laptops, just running Chrome on that laptop, would I be able? Is there anything that the Chromebook could do that this couldn't?
There's a
this-
lot that the Chromebook can do that this can't. The biggest thing is that the Chromebook can be managed centrally by the school, while Chrome in a device can't really. You look shocked at that one, Cadeas, for a minute.
Could you
Oh,
try?
just for a quick second, because I was thinking, no, it's the same, but I forgot. Like you said, the management. I wasn't thinking the management system. So
You've also got a variety of security implications of one over the other, recovery options. I mean, do you know how easy it is to wipe out and reboot and restart a Chrome OS device?
Oh, I
can do it in
do.
10 minutes, at most.
I've done it several times, only because I had to.
Okay,
But
and
that's
what is
it.
it? And what is it like when
That's-
dealing with security bugs? You know, security holes on Chrome OS, and there have been a couple, but not many.
Right.
It just magically updates. Do that on a Windows device. Honestly, what I'm most
Well-
interested in this device for is so that I can take it and install Chrome OS on it.
That's
And
funny.
I've got a lot of friends that are interested in it so they can install Linux on it. This is
Isn't
going to
that the
be
same
one of the
thing?
best Linux and Chrome OS boxes out there at the price.
Hmm.
I think the next story, which was related to this, is that
It's at the bottom now. I'll move it
no,
up.
it's moved around a bit. That Citrix and Google have partnered to bring native enterprise features to Chromebooks. So once again, we're seeing how they're trying to use Chromebooks to address some of these legacy apps and address the needs of enterprise software. Now, Cadeas, what have you heard of this one?
I am really excited for the Citrix only because there's a lot of companies that I work with around here that actually use it, that really depend on Citrix, and that would help them move more outside of the Windows realm and try to use a little bit more of some other things. Because there are a lot of companies around here that are actually open to trying new things, but they're stuck based on their databases or whatever else. They're stuck in their way. So with the Citrix, that kind of helps the Chromebook, and it really helps Google out a lot actually to even partner with them. So.
It's not that they're stuck, it's that the databases need to be robust and need to be where they are.
Right.
They are where they are for very good reasons, not because they're stuck. The problem is that the Chrome OS is new enough that there aren't client-side applications on Chrome OS yet for many of these things. So Citrix is the only way to get to the client, which is Windows only right now. So this gets fixed as Chrome OS becomes popular enough for developers to write their applications natively for Chrome OS, so they don't have to, so the consumers, the customers, don't have to buy Windows clients.
Well, and one of the great things about writing natively for Chrome OS is that you're essentially writing a web app. And
Yes.
that's a well understood technology these days. And doesn't lock you in.
Probably though, Alan, not by the same developers that these legacy IT shops have in place. So it's not the same group of developers. That's kind of a problem in the industry. It's sort of a barrier.
I'll
They
grant that.
adopted.
This is
'Cause you got
this
a
is
whole lot of-
perpetual problem in the industry. But one
Yeah.
of the things that that fortunately helps that out is that a lot of the people who did write these legacy apps were also thinking in terms of server-client connections. The
Right.
server doesn't change. The
Right.
client's the only part that needs to change.
Correct.
And even on the Windows side of the world, you know, if you were a Windows developer, Microsoft is pushing you towards HTML5 now. So it's not just Google that's heading you there, it's Microsoft wants you to be there too.
Do they really?
All Windows 8.1 native apps are HTML5 apps at their core.
Okay. I thought I had heard that they had given up on their HTML5 initiatives.
No, that's maybe I'm wrong. Kadeus, what have you heard on this front?
I missed that one. Say it again.
Windows 8.1 development are all HTML5 based stuff?
I had heard something about that. That was supposed to be the case. I haven't seen anything on it, but yeah, I heard that too. That it's supposed to be both. It's supposed to be HTML5 and everything else, and so then you could basically program back and forth if you wanted to. But I didn't think that. Actually, that was a couple years ago, and I think that was a year or two ago when I heard that actually, that was coming.
Kadeus, I thought I had heard that that Microsoft had sort of decommitted from their HTML5 initiatives and were not supporting that anymore. So I am not by far the expert on this, but that's what I thought I heard.
I don't pay close enough attention to Microsoft. And I don't pay close enough attention to Microsoft. I remember hearing that they were supposed to do HTML5 and that would solve their problem, but I wasn't turning cartwheels. So I hadn't even paid. So had they really re-announced that they wasn't going to do that, I probably missed that one. I remember when they said that. So.
Okay, let's race through these. This next story here, YouTube. We got a positive and a negative opinion here, back to back. From Recode, the story is YouTube Music's secret weapon, music you can't get anywhere else. There's a rumor and some screenshots have been leaked by the Android police about a music subscription service that YouTube is going to do, and you'll be able to. It'll be like Rhapsody to Go or Napster to Go or these other ones, Spotify, where you can listen to just the audio music, but you can also watch videos, which you can do for free currently. And they have an interesting thing if. Like I do covers. Like if you're looking for Elton John Original Sin, if you're on YouTube, you'll find the original one, but you might also see mine, right? Now I don't monetize them because I don't own the rights. I just threw it up there because someone asked me to. But it's not something you'll find on Spotify or Napster to Go or any of these other services. So do you agree with this, that it's sort of regular music service like everybody else, which is a commodity now, plus all the YouTube content, which is huge? The concert recordings, the remixes that you can only find on YouTube. A lot of people, they'll do whatever at a concert, and that video is only on YouTube. And so if they can add that, is this a service you think is going to, do you agree with the premise of the article, and do you think this is going to take off? Kadesh, you're kind of shaking your head or nodding in agreement. I'm not sure which. Awkward
I was
gestations,
reading and going
gesticulations.
along. I think it will take off only because it's for people who already have the Google Play Music All Access subscription. They'll actually get access to this, so it's definitely going to get used. I don't know. I think it'll eventually grow. Obviously, they're going to have a lot of backlash because it's YouTube and you're touching. Go ahead, Alan.
That's funny. No. I'm not about to flame you on this one. It's funny because I think of it in terms of the exact opposite. Google Play Music All Access has got to be one of the biggest flops that Google has.
Whoa.
Nobody gives a shit about it.
What are you talking about? How is Google Play Music All Access a flop besides the name?
Nobody uses it.
Everybody
I
I
do.
know is using it.
Everyone I know uses Pandora, Spotify, or one of the other ones.
That's because you haven't shown them the new stuff. That's your fault.
It's not my fault. I don't use that crap.
How is it crap? You still ain't told me how it's crap.
This is all secondhand information because I don't use it. And
Okay.
I'll admit that up front. I don't use it. But what everyone else has told me is they use Pandora or Spotify or any one of the others because they've got more music, done better with a better UI, and it's not tied to Google. They don't trust Google.
Okay, see, I don't have non-trusting Google people in my circle, so
That's not the only reason. But they do trust YouTube.
which is Google.
This will work because it's YouTube.
You
And
judge a
that's
site
the
by
most brilliant aspect about it.
the frequent metric you judge a site by is how many unique millions of unique users a month. 30 million's good, 50 million's great. YouTube's got 1 billion. So if they got 1%, that'd be what, 10 million subscribers if they got 1%?
I just swore I saw a chart here recently that that Google Play Music. Oh, he vanished now. Dang it! All right, I'll have this battle with Alan later.
Okay, so let me go to the negative here. This was a criticism, and this is, I think, Derek. Let me see here. Let me pull this one up here. The title of this is, am I the only person who does not care one single bit about this? I'm already a Google Play Music All Access subscriber. I have no need to use YouTube's variant of this. So he's not at all, here he's commenting, I don't get it or understand unless there's more to it that isn't released.
Well, the Google Play Music is going to be rebranded to Google Play Music Key, and then you're going to have, so Google Play Music subscribers will also have access to this YouTube. What is it, YouTube?
Is that meaning like you can unlock things that you can't watch for free? Is that the name? What the hell's the name mean?
I don't know. Obviously, we don't know that yet.
Google's not good at naming things. They're just not good at naming things.
Yeah, so but it's supposed to be one. Basically, it's supposed to be one service. So if you're an All Access subscriber, you have access to Music Key, and then All Access is being rebranded to Music Key. So it's supposed to be one service. So for the people who are using Google Play, they'll also have access to YouTube, and vice versa.
It sounds like
That's
another
the
thing I'll
innocent
never
thought.
ever see in the wild. Like I've never seen anyone use Google Play.
But remember, we did a story a while back about remember the people who are on YouTube and they're musicians. Remember they were either forced to join this or or get screwed out of their money. So what was it, like 95% of the people just went ahead and joined it. So this is here regardless of, it's kind of like Google Plus comments, YouTube comments. It's here.
Kevin Bryan says Google Play Music All Access is the best thing since sliced bread. Everybody loves it.
See, he knows.
So Dan, why don't they do like we suggested a long time ago and just make all of the YouTube content available as audio podcasts?
That was another thing.
Is
that
that what they're doing here? Is that what they're gonna say?
That would solve all the world's problems.
It was going to let you be able to watch it audio only, to my understanding. That's at least one of the other articles that I read.
Yeah, there are a lot of people who want to listen. Like Craig is a classic example. Craig is a very fit, active guy. Literally right behind him, you can see he's got his push-up things, right? And he calls me literally 3 or 4 times a day when he's on his various exercise regimens. He finally gets up to the D's in his call list. And then he spends more time on the A of his call list than the D's. But he'll call me, and he wants to be, it's not, you don't want to just sit in a gym and stare at a wall, you know? So he goes out walking.
So the next
And-
best thing is talk to Dan.
Yeah. The next best thing to staring at a wall.
Yeah.
But like Craig enjoys listening to Twit and stuff. And he'll, you know, and I do, when I go walking, I'll download, I'll literally look for stuff to download that's going to be good. Because I might be walking in the state park behind me, which has bad internet. So I've got to download it before I go. So I'm not relying on connectivity. So it's a productive way to stay motivated in your thing. And I just wish they would take if they took the entire YouTube library, and that's maybe what they're doing. They may have tweaked the terms of service, which says they could deliver it in an audio format that may have been there for years. I have no idea. I don't know anybody who's read. There are fewer people who've read the YouTube terms of service than use Google Play All Access. But they may have the rights to do that. And I argued with Google, and I got no response at all, which means they can't, because they always respond, almost always. But I said, why don't you guys take the entire library, make it available with audio ads, just like you do with the visual ads. With the video version, you would overnight have the largest catalog of any audio service in the world, by far. Because just like Peter Kafka said at Recode, he said they've got all the content that's on YouTube you can't get anywhere else. There are tons and tons of videos. If you look up your artist and say live in concert, there will be, you know, hundreds or thousands, depending how big they are, of unique clips of them performing that you can't get anywhere else. You can't get it on Spotify or any of those other places. So I think this may work. And there aren't many brands bigger, especially with the young demo that all the advertisers are trying to reach, than although this isn't obviously an entirely a ploy to get advertising revenue, because it's a subscription-based service, so they're going to get money up front, and not everyone's going to do it, but I think it makes sense. I think it's got potential because they've got the catalog. They might as well milk it. You can use your key to unlock the secret content. Anything else on this? Next is okay, this was interesting. Bill O'Reilly, speaking of YouTube, this was I saw this on Mediaite. It was really good. He did a call in. He was on vacation. This may have been I don't know if it was on a show or when he was on vacation. Oh my God, a pop-up. They are, I mean, Craig, you think our sites are not entirely modern looking? We got nothing on Mediaite. It's like Drudge, but color. So anyway, they're talking about the Foley beheading. And he said, at one point, he said, and what the hell is the matter with YouTube putting this thing up there? Now, what happened was it was uploaded to YouTube, and it was a full 1080p video. It was very high quality. I saw the stills. I refused to watch, and I did not share it. They're not going to get me like that. But anyway, I guess someone uploaded it. Cadeas, how does this work? I mean, they can't pre-screen every video, but they kind of know the accounts. But as soon as you shut down one account, they're going to pop up with another one. And it was up for a few hours or several hours. I don't know if that means 2 hours or 14 hours. And then they took it down. But they didn't take down the movie about that caused the rioting and the deaths in Afghanistan that made fun of Muhammad. So I'm not sure what the standard is, what their rules are. I guess because if you show obvious violence or advocacy to, If you're showing a murder, that's a violation of terms of service. Where a simple fictional play or movie, even if it's really bad, even if it causes violence, it was just really mocking. So I guess that wouldn't violate. I don't know what kind of
because
call
there's a
it
lot
is.
of murders that you can watch on YouTube right now. So I have a hard time. I don't know what I don't know how they determine what's what.
My Google Now is screwed up enough. I don't want to be looking up. One time, this guy, he came in. He was my neighbor. Came in. He was looking up all these. He was just on a slaughter kick. He wanted to see like how you slaughter cows and pigs. He spent like half an hour looking at these crazy videos. Boy, you talk about my SEO being screwed up for a while, or my whatever you call it. You know what I mean? My cookies. I'm probably on some lists. It's from the government. But should they have a quicker mechanism to get rid of this stuff? Do you agree they should have gotten rid of it?
I don't think. Hey, I don't agree. They agree that they should have gotten rid of it, honestly. But I'm weird, so I don't think I don't. One of the things I have an issue with anything relating to news and stuff is that they should, if they're going to report the news, report the news. If it happened, it happened, and they shouldn't hide it, change it, or sugarcoat it, or anything like that. So that's kind of how I look at it. So in this scenario, I would have preferred that they would have left it up. Plus now it's up, and it's up on 12 million different places, and nobody else has been pulled down.
Craig,
So-
do you agree? Should they have left this video up?
I think we should get into the whole news thing and what my beliefs on news coverage. Yeah, I think if somebody was actually covering the news out there and reporting the news properly, then whatever they report should stay up. But that doesn't exist anymore.
Okay. So let me advance this topic. Twitter announced that they were suspending accounts because a lot of people were disturbed at seeing. I shared a picture of. I didn't share the picture. I shared a news story about it when it first happened. And it was a still of the guy in the orange suit and the Islamic militant asshole behind him. I don't think they showed a knife, and they were just talking at the right. That was the thumbnail, but and like I said, I did not and will not. I will not watch. I would not watch, and I would never share that. But I heard it's really bad, really gruesome. But and it was in full 1080p, wonderfully produced. These guys have great production skills apparently. But here's the question: Twitter announced, because they were getting complaints from people who were just looking at their feed, and all of a sudden they'd see a gruesome picture, a really graphic one. And so Twitter said they're going to suspend anybody who shares one of those images or shares a video with a thumbnail that's gruesome. Yet they did not suspend I think the New York Post and the New York Times, or the New York Daily News, or a couple. I shouldn't name names because I think it's them, but I'm not sure. But some of the tabloids, and New York tabloids, of course, since 9/11, they're especially militant on screw these guys, right? So, what do you think about that? They're going to suspend you and me if we did it, but they're not going to suspend a big media company that did the exact same thing. That's an obvious double standard? Is it justified, Cadeas?
I shared the video. My account's still up. So
Was the thumbnail especially gruesome? In other words, was it like they had
I
to
just
click?
shared I found the video and I reshared it, and I even put in there that you shouldn't censor the news if this is what happened. This is what happened. That was what my post said, and then I shared it, linking right to the video. So
Here's my question: but it's not like you shared a picture that was especially. In
No,
other
it
words,
wasn't a picture. It was
it's
a
a
video,
difference.
the actual
If you like when I share, I said warning. Like I shared the shooting of the gentleman in St. Louis. That video, and I put in all caps
Ferguson.
warning graphic content, right? And but the YouTube thumbnail was not especially disturbing at all. You had to make a decision whether to click to watch it. That's different than if I'm looking at Michael Ellis's feed and he has say an animated GIF of the guy slicing the guy's head off, right? That's involuntary. I have to watch it. I don't have a choice whether to watch it because I'm just checking out Michael Ellis's feed. That's the difference. So that's what they were saying. If you are causing people to involuntarily see something that's disturbing, distressing to them, we're going to suspend you. But that's what these tabloids did. Do you think it's a double standard where they would have one rule for you and me and Craig and Mike and another rule for their trusted media partners when they're doing the exact same thing?
Sounds like they was just
Yeah.
going off of who reported who. Like if I reported you, then your account was looked at, but it doesn't sound like they was actually looking at anybody.
Okay.
Like they weren't out hunting and trying to find this, is what it sounds like to me then.
Okay. Craig, what do you think about all this?
Well, like I said, I think that we have a much bigger problem with the media than this. If there was accurate news reporting that was not biased, that was strictly the news and accurate, then whatever they report should stay up.
Okay. All right.
That's what,
And as Cadeas pointed out, if you're looking for that, there are, a million places. And then let's go to Joshua Hughes here. Comment. He says YouTube should let the community rate videos in regards to sexual or violent content or profanity. Sorry. As the adult in your home, you decide what rating levels are restricted in your home. And Cybernaut says it's the equivalent of a snuff film, regardless of the politics involved. Clearly. And also, on Republican-leaning sites, I keep seeing all this criticism of Obama being going on vacation after giving a speech at the, I think, Eggleston School. I think that's a total bum rap. I think presidents should go on vacation. They bring the White House with them. And Craig and I discussed this today. He's been on vacation about a third as much as George W. Bush and less than I think his 2 or 3 predecessors. I just think you got to, if he rushes to the White House and is convening meetings over this thing, the terrorists have kind of won. I think it shows like he's obviously, we're going to try to get this guy, right? And so is David Cameron in the UK because he's British.
Here's the problem, Dan. What has happened here is news organizations and related entities have all gotten into this box where they're competing for viewers and they'll do anything and say anything. Whereas in the old days, what would happen is somebody would report news and they would give you the relevant facts. And it didn't require, you didn't have to show a lot of gory things sometimes to get those facts across. You would simply say what happened. And many times they would say, we have footage or we have photos or whatever, but they're too graphic. We're not even going to show them to you. Right? So they took the high road and they did things right. All right? We've gotten away from that now. And so anything goes and it's a mess. And then add on top of that, most of these entities don't have any credibility because they'll say and do anything to retain viewers or listeners. And so it's not even worth watching or even really discussing. We shouldn't even pay attention to any of this garbage because it's all wasted movements.
And then the next question too is why what should he have done? It's not like he could have saved the dude. It's over now. It's too late. I mean, what should he have done?
I think it would have been a strong moral victory, and they would have celebrated if he had canceled his vacation and come back to the White House, where he could do no more or less than he could do for Martha's Vineyard. Because let's face it, he's not sitting there with binoculars on. He's a commander-in-chief. He's got folks who do it. I just think it's stupid. And what the reason it impacts is you have all these morons who watch only MSNBC or Daily Kos or only Fox News and right-wing site Breitbart, however the hell you pronounce the late guy's name, or even worse, these Alex Jones guys who are building bomb shelters and getting storable foods and buying gold. You got all these different people, and they're just
you might change your
so
tune if
sheltered.
that guy ends up being right, and all those food stores and the medicines that he stored and all that come in handy someday.
Yeah, when the Ebola thing happens.
You might be the guy going there asking him for some medicine.
So I don't know. It's just they get
I
viewers.
just don't know what they wanted him to do. I don't understand what they wanted him to do. That's
You know
like
what?
saying,
If he
why
had
did you
canceled
say-
his vacation, what would they have said? He's letting the terrorists
would have
win.
found something else to say.
If
There's nothing
Obama, if Obama walked on water today on Fox News tomorrow, there would be a big story. Obama can't swim. Bottom line. Same thing
See,
for George
here's
W.
my-
Bush from MSNBC. Oh, Jesus
Here's my
Christ.
emergency kit that I always have handy, right? That has all the things in it that I need when I grab it and go. And I'm not gonna tell you what's in the bus right outside.
All
If
right.
you have to run that quick, Craig, I don't think a bus is a good idea to drive in. I think you need something smaller. It's too obvious if the bus starts.
You
moving.
haven't seen my bus. It'll pretty much go through anything.
It's a tank. It's like one of those MRAP vehicles. All right, so
Don't call it a tank.
I think tank is a generic term.
It's going to be escorted by a tank.
the
when
reason
leave.
I call it a. Are you criticizing me for calling it a tank?
It wasn't my opinion, but don't call it a tank.
It's a mine-resistant anti or something vehicle because there's so many land mines in Ferguson and in Lynchburg, Virginia, and in Page County, Virginia, that they need a mine-resistant.
These are just surplus things that they need to get rid of because they got to make room for all the new equipment they're going to buy from all the defense contractors, right? They got to keep that gravy train going.
Plus, frankly, it's probably see what they do. Ththese things cost $733,000. Then they use them and they come back. So there's I don't know what the depreciation rate on a MRAP is, but it's probably Craig. Frankly, it's probably cheaper. To give the police have to pay the transportation costs, which is about $2,300 or wherever you're living. It depends. It's probably cheaper for them to give them away than to have to dismantle them, or you know what I mean, tear them apart or bury them or whatever. Because you can't just like give them away. I guess they could dismantle them and sell the scrap metal or crush them. I don't know if
You
you
can
can
only
crush them.
sell so many to Arnold Schwarzenegger, right? I mean, there's kind of a limited market. Yeah, it's a mess. But like I say, it's the bigger picture that we need to look at here. Why are they buying all these things in the first place? I mean, we've got no threats, right? Nobody's trying to attack us. It's just
They're not trying to attack us because they got their own state now, Craig. They don't need to attack us anymore. They're happy as long as we leave them alone. I mean, I think they made that pretty clear in their video. Leave us alone.
None of them were ever trying to attack us. So we had that. There was no legitimate threat, you know. So I mean, we don't need all this heavy equipment. We don't need all these planes and tanks and whatever the heck they're building, aircraft carriers, all this crap.
All right, we got a couple funny.
We need to build factories, right? We need to build infrastructure. We need to put fiber going between the houses, right? We need to compete the way people are really competing around the world.
And we need to stay on topic. Cybernaut says Michael Ellis's feed pictures a topless guy in bed with a glass of wine. No telling what's in that video. He says Craig Shipp is right. The role of today's media is to muckrake and stir up stories through innuendo, creating a stage for idiots and fools to perform upon. Just my 2 cents. You guys both need to look at media from the 1830s. And like traditionally, we went through a period where the media appeared to be a little more responsible than in the past because it switched from print to television. And the barrier to entry to have your own TV network or your own TV station is very, very expensive. But the barrier to entry for a website is nothing. I mean, just time. So it's a big, big difference. And historically, we've had all kinds. Media was partisan. In the UK, there's a very healthy ecosystem of newspapers, and they're very, very partisan. There's the pro-royal, the anti-royal. There's the Guardian, which is liberal. There's the I forget, the Times was conservative, and then there's the Sun. Rupert Murdoch's paper has a topless woman on page 3 every day. The page 3 girl. It's a whole thing, like the jet babe.
Probably the real problem is people have too much time on their hands, and they're only going to have more and more time on their hands because nobody's going to have jobs. And so what do they do with all that time? They watch all this garbage on TV and feed into it and get addicted to it. And meanwhile, they're not out there working and actually doing something productive.
Okay, so speaking of productive, let's get to this Google kills dog story. This is I'm gonna get through this without laughing. We did the donkey story in the past with M. Monica, and so we're gonna do the dog story. The donkey thing was BS though. This looks. I looked around to see if there was an update. This was BS. It may have been. I mean, it may be. I don't know. But anyway, so there's this dog. As this story is told as only Business Insider can. It says warning some of these images might be a little upsetting because none of us have ever seen a dead dog on the side of the road. So anyway, here he is. Oh no. And then the little dog sure is cute, but it's right in front of the car. And then as the car passes by, the dog disappears, and there is a blur on the image. Oh dear. Now we're looking backward at the spot where the dog was. There's a person and another dog near that red car, and they seem to have noticed something. The little dog doesn't look good at all. So we're still looking out the rear view as the dog moves forward toward the intersection. We've enlarged this image from a distance. The dog appears to have changed position, suggesting it survived. But now we're further away and the dog hasn't moved. There he is here. It looks like they may have killed a dog, Craig. So that we might navigate the dusty streets of Chile. We should just shut the whole Google thing down. This is outrageous.
It's shutting itself down. I don't think we have to do it.
When your enemy's destroying itself, don't get in the way.
They're pretty much going down the tubes.
All right. So we'll
They've
do it.
had their run. I mean, had a good run. The heck.
All right,
Can't
so we're
expect
down.
a good thing to go on forever.
We're down to 2. It looks like, yeah, he's gone. Hope he doesn't spill the wine.
We're down to 2
People.
panelists or 2
Two
viewers?
panelists.
Or both?
No, we've got no, we got viewers. All right, so anyway, next up is now that we've covered the obligatory dog story. I should have made that the YouTube thumbnail. Okay, an arrest over a Twitter parody of a mayor wasn't unreasonable, Peoria says. So at first you're like, wait a minute, there's all kinds of Twitter parodies accounts out there. And apparently the ACLU sued Cadeas, are you up on this? The April raid was set in motion. They suspended Peoria mayor after the city threatened a lawsuit against the microblogging site. The April police raid, I don't know why they say micro. Anyone who reads Ars Technica would know what Twitter is. The April police raid was set in motion after the mayor told police he was upset over being falsely portrayed as a drug abuser, according to court documents. The raid resulted in marijuana drug possession charges against his roommate, and charges are pending. According to a search warrant application, Artis was concerned that the tweets in the account impersonated him and implied that the mayor utilizes illegal drugs, associated with prostitutes, utilized offensive, inappropriate language. One tweet compared the authorities to read, "Who stole my crack pipe?" Where do you draw the line between a parody account that would be legit and obviously a parody account and harassment of somebody? And he is a public figure in that city, right? What do you think? Where's that line, Cadeas?
I don't think there should be a line.
As long as
I
it's
don't know.
obvious, as long as it's an obvious parody.
Right, like impersonation is a little bit different from.
Impersonation would be confusing. Would be where people think that it's the other person, and then
If
that.
that was intentional, then yeah, I guess I can see that as a form of identity theft. So but maybe that's where I would draw the line. But a straight up parody account is where it's clear that it's a parody account. I wouldn't.
What about this question? What if, okay, obviously if you're President of the United States or if you're Madonna or some worldwide known celebrity, there's a different standard versus the person who mows your lawn, who doesn't even have a phone and is not at all a well-known person. Traditionally, there's been a separate standard on what is reasonable to what, you know, you could get in trouble for saying, like you could say Obama's a crook or George W. is a crook on television, right? And they can't really sue you because they're a public figure and they invite that kind of thing by being in politics. But if you said on the 6 o'clock news, your neighbor's a crook who's not a public figure, he could sue you, right? You'd have to prove that you reasonably thought or that he was a crook.
Yeah, but there'd be no reason to have a parody account for an ordinary person. The whole purpose of doing parody is somebody that is famous.
Correct. Now they have different levels of fame. There are different levels between the neighbor who is a recluse and no one knows about, and Obama or Madonna. There are various levels. Like, for example, if you're the mayor of a town of 600 and you don't go on television, and someone set up an account mocking you, and it was just hilarious and just devastating to your reputation, and that went worldwide viral, he might have a cause of action because he's a public figure in his town, but he's not on the national stage, right? The courts have, it's complicated. These are not black and white issues. But I guess the guy, I guess he crossed the line according to the courts there. But to be arrested, like as though it were harassment, you know what I mean? It's different. I don't know. We'll see what you guys think.
Yeah, I don't know. I would say if it's a parody account, then it's a parody account. So I wouldn't make a big deal about that. But if he's straight up impersonating, which at least I'm looking at a screenshot and it looks like he's more impersonating than anything. I'm honored to serve our citizens. Well, I don't know. It's just.
Yeah, I think it should be clearly a parody account, like not Bill Clinton, something like that, right? It should have a name that clearly shows that it's a parody.
Okay.
If it doesn't, then it's not good.
What if the President Josiah Bartlett Twitter account's a parody? All right. So there we go. We're all for arresting tweeters. Next up is...
Next story is perfect for Craig.
Oh, a new search engine. Oh my God. A new search engine pledges to keep your data private. I guess this is... What's the other one that they just came out with? This is called Private.me. It encrypts, dices, and geographically segregates data. So, privacy-minded internet users gained a new search option Tuesday with the debut of Private.me. The new service says when you perform a search, all your personal data is immediately encrypted, sliced up, and distributed between geographically dispersed nonprofit organizations. If you create an account, you can maintain an optional search history that's visible only to you. We have the only truly forgettable system in which no single entity, including us, can access any user's personal data without explicit content. Who needs this except for like privacy freaks or terrorists or criminals? I like relevant ads. I don't want to see, I was bitching that I was getting irrelevant ads about the Big Bang Theory and the Chicago Cubs. I want an ad about, I'd love for Google Now and all my ads to be about, I'm thinking about getting pizza tonight. Gee, I wonder which place to go. And then I see Papa John's and Domino's and this new pizza shop just opened up in Stevens City. Maybe I want to go there. That's helpful. I don't care. It's not like I'm building a secret nuclear missile. Craig, what do you think? This is obviously the solution, right?
Like I said, the privacy thing, that ship sailed a long time ago. So if anybody thinks they're going to...
So you don't trust Private.me?
I wouldn't assume that anything I'm doing on a connected computer, on the internet, on any kind of a network, I would not assume that any of that is private. And so I don't put any private information, anything I don't want other people to have, I don't put it on such networks. Or anything that would be damaging to me, right? I might have information that, okay, if somebody gets it, fine, it's no big deal, right? I might put that on a network. But if I had information, keys to the castle that somebody could come in and take money or whatever, right? Then no, I would not put that on any kind of a network.
This is from Romanesco, a tweet. I just got to throw this out. This is one of the most hilarious things I've ever read. Economist readers' hemorrhoids disappear after his subscription expires. Shorter bathroom visits cited. He obviously doesn't have a Nexus 7. All right, I just thought I'd throw that out there. That is hilarious. And not entirely related to the topic at hand. All right, next up is Craigslist cracks down on outside services, says a violator must pay 10 cents per server request. They have a long history here of and Craig Newmark is a good guy, and he's been on our show. And they, in the terms of service, I guess what they don't like is people scraping Craigslist to get that data so they could set up their own service and bypass Craigslist. And then Craigslist can't get the traffic, and instead you get the traffic, and you're basically taking all their ads. So that their terms of service say they can charge you 10 cents per server instance. This is pretty creative, actually. I guess, okay.
Nothing on Craigslist.
It's a lot quicker when Alan's gone.
But CraigShip.com is available according to Cybernaut, so maybe he can get started.
Oh, with a K.
With a K. Cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. You should get a redirect. He'll have it in the next 3 minutes, guaranteed.
No. No, they can have it with a K.
All right. So,
I'm not greedy. I only own about 1,500 domains.
all right. Next up is Cadeas. I hope you can explain this. AOL won't honor do not track requests.
Oh, you want me to explain this?
Yeah.
Give me a quick second here.
A do not track request is from your browser. I guess so they can't put cookies on your hard drive.
Right.
And AOL, as I stall here, AOL owns some big sites like TechCrunch, Huffington Post, and I think this is going to be system-wide. All of the major browser companies now offer do not track headers, which tell publishers and ad networks that users don't want to be tracked, and have cookies installed so that they know what you're interested in, so they can deliver more relevant ads, or find out where you are, or I guess they could do that from the IP. The headers.
Yeah, and it looks like that they're still collecting data, even though it's saying, even though you're requesting not to be tracked. It looks like some of their properties, or if not all of them, are still collecting data. This is really.
You think the EU is going to just go ape on this?
What do they not go crazy over? Every little thing the EU's mad about. So, ad organizations should not be.
Here's
Yeah,
what it says here. AOL's other brands, including publishers like TechCrunch and Huffington Post, also will ignore the browser-based signals. But that decision is not inconsistent with the current view of the do not track as outlined by the World Wide Web Consortium. The do not track commands aren't aimed at preventing publishers from collecting data about their own visitors, says the Center for Democracy and Technology's Justin Brookman, who chairs their effort to forge a consensus. In fact, publishers are allowed to gather information from users who have activated do not track according to the most recent formulation of the concept. So I don't understand why you even have it.
That's what I was gonna say, because people are under the impression that they're not being tracked when they use a do not track, when in fact what the consumer in their mind is thinking do not track is not actually falling under the same category, if that makes sense. So you're thinking do not track means none of my stuff is being collected, when in fact you're just saying only one aspect of your stuff is not being collected, although you're thinking that it's all of it.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So, and this just goes back to what Craig's been screaming the whole show, that when you're online, everything you do is public. Pretty much. Just act as though it's all public, because it is. If it's connected, it's public, whether you want it to be or not.
Just like the warning that probably a lot of people, like the incognito window in Chrome. We use it a lot when we're trying to, if I make a page on our site for a business or something, I'll open it up incognito, because then I'm not logged in and I don't have all the moderator and admin options on the thing. I want to see what Joe Sixpack sees, right? So, but when you start it up, it tells you that what it's doing is, it is like, it's not sending cookie data or whatever, but that doesn't mean they can't get your IP or see what you do and store that. It just means that it's not going to be saved on your computer and you're not going to be logged in, that sort of thing.
Right.
So it's not. It doesn't mean that I can find out how to make a bomb and no one will come after me, because that's not the case. Okay. The next up, the FCC can knock out state laws that limit broadband, according to FCC Chairman Wheeler. A lot of states, including my state of Virginia, have these bans on municipal broadband, ostensibly because they don't want local governments starting commercial businesses that compete with commercial businesses. That's the official reason. The unofficial reason, of course, is that they all get donations from lobbyists, from the broadband providers. That's why our broadband sucks in this country. In Virginia, it's in one place, Bristol, which is a city that is in two different states. I guess it's two different cities, but they're both called Bristol and they're next to each other. And I think there's literally like a main street, and one side's Tennessee and one side's Virginia. It's kind of cool. So he's telling the states that they do have the power to overrule such bans. Now, I'm a big proponent of that. In Virginia, you can only, you can't, they can't straight up do municipal broadband, nor can they enter into an agreement with a company to do it, like a contractor or something like that. So, Cadeus, what do you think about this? And then I know Craig will want to dig in briefly, and then we can go to the next thing. And
Okay.
I'll be right back. So be long-winded, please.
Wow. Okay. Well, I think that it is. I think it's actually a really good thing that the FCC is actually coming in saying no to this. I don't think that there should be laws that prevent people from being able to get internet at any capacity. And boxing us in with just Comcast or just Time Warner or just whoever, I don't think that that's good to do. And so I'm glad that somebody's trying to put their foot down and make this stop. The only thing is we see that the FCC is not as powerful as they pretend to be. So even though they're saying this may be the case, it may not actually go down this road. What do you think, Craig?
Okay, so I just repositioned myself. Can you see me okay?
You're good.
Okay, so so give me a recap on this story. Is this about internet access?
Yeah, the FCC is they're trying to knock out state laws that stop people, basically services, from getting better broadband connections, because there are some states that
get rid
have
of monopolies and things like that. And Dan and I had some discussions about this the other day, and I am of the firm belief that there are a lot of roadblocks as far as anyone wanting to compete with the likes of Comcast and other big players that are in this space, that even if there aren't outright grants of a monopoly in a particular county, like here in Frederick County, for example, it's Comcast, even if they don't have an absolute monopoly, they've engineered it in such a way, as far as the laws and regulations and so on that they've lobbied for over the years and the relationships that they've built, that it's very difficult for a competitor to come in to the space. And
just to clarify, Craig, real quick, what we're talking about here is the FCC chairman has warned states that they do have the power and may act to prevent these bans on municipal broadband. So that if Frederick, Maryland wanted to contract with a third party to build out the network, and your theory or your proposal is that the municipality spends the money to run the wires and then lets whatever companies lease them in effect, right?
Well, they don't necessarily have to spend the money, but they need to facilitate it. They need to give the right-of-ways. They need to allow private companies to do it and allow private companies to run it and allow competition over that pipe, if you will. So in other words, the pipes need to be run, right? They need to be run from house to house, from building to building. That this whole country really should be wired with high-speed capabilities. Otherwise, there are other countries that are doing it. So, I mean, we can just sit on our hands and keep our head buried in the sand and think that everything's fine, that we can keep speeds the way they are now indefinitely, and that it won't harm us, right? Or we can be realistic and say that we should upgrade and we should be at the forefront and we should have the fastest internet to every house, to every business in these United States, and that will give us a huge competitive advantage, and that in the long run it will not be costly because the companies that will be providing the services over those lines, whether that be television service, radio service, internet service, whatever the heck they're providing over those lines, that they will be willing to pay enough to access the customers that it will be self-supporting, that it actually won't cost any money from the tax dollars, from the taxpayers, and that it'll be a service that most people will want. Of course, there'll be some people that won't want high speed into their home, but I think the majority will, and so it will make sense to do it.
Okay, what about let's use Thurmont as an example, Craig. Population 6,170. I think it's an incorporated town, correct? So you actually have like a mayor and a town council.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, so they could let's say they did this. Let's say they decided Comcast sucks or whatever. They did a bond. They put a referendum on the ballot for a bond, to issue a bond. Let's say it costs. They say it's what, a few $100 a house to run fiber, but by the time you do the head end, you do all the stuff. Let's say it's $1,000 a house, and that could be wildly inaccurate, over or under. I have no idea. So it's $6 million for them to wire every single. That's population, right? So really, it's less than that because there's on average probably 2.4 people or whatever per dwelling, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So let's say it's 3 million, 5 million, 10 million, whatever it is.
Yeah.
And they said we want to do a loan for 10 years or 20 years, whatever. And what we're going to do, we're going to take, and the voters could choose, and then we're going to build this thing out. And if Comcast or Time Warner or Craig Ship want to offer something, they can attach into our head end. They got to get it here, and we'll have rack space, and we're going to charge you $4 a month per person or whatever it is. They'll get some consultant in from the Silicon Valley. You can say it's going to cost about this much for upkeep and for the town crews to go out and fix the pole, all that crap, right?
Yep.
I have no problem with that. That way they're laying the groundwork, they're opening it up to whoever, and they're just doing it as a nonprofit thing. They don't want to make a bunch of money. They want to make a little bit of money, maybe. But I think that would be perfect. I mean, is that kind of what you envision?
They could do it that way, or it could be totally private. It could be a private company, or companies could run the lines. They could just give the right-of-ways and outline what performance they're looking for out of these connections and so forth, what the minimum performance, in other words, establish standards, and they could let private companies do it as well, as long as it gets done. The important thing is that every house, every business needs to be wired, and also simultaneously super high-speed wireless as well. So they need to install antennas and wireless to go hand in hand with this, so that wherever we are in our vehicles, as long as we're near a road, right, we'll also have super high-speed internet. And I think it would be a huge competitive advantage for these United States of America to have that.
The problem is once Comcast goes in there, it's Time Warner, for them to go in there and run competing wires or Cox. It's not worth it.
Yeah, I don't agree with that. I don't know where you got that idea. I think these companies are making plenty of money. They're crying all the way to the bank, and I think that they can make even more money now if they were to do things right. If they were to actually give us real high-speed internet, I would pay double what I'm paying right now if I could get really high-speed internet, and at the drop of a hat. And I bet you there are a lot of people that would pay double what they're paying right now for internet if they could get a gigabyte up and down. Kadeus, what are you paying for your internet now?
For Cox, it is $106, I think, after tax.
Just for the internet part now.
Yeah, just for that's all I have is internet.
$106.
$106.
What are you getting? What speed are you getting?
150 down and 50 up.
Okay, so if you could get a gigabyte up and down, would you pay 150 a month?
Yeah, I would have no problem paying 2.
You'd pay 200 if you could get a gigabyte.
Yeah.
I know I would pay double what I'm paying right now if I could get a gigabyte. So I think there are a fair number of people, not everybody obviously, that would pay more for the super high speed connection. So I can't imagine that if somebody did it, that they wouldn't make money. I find it hard to believe that I think Google's going to make money in Kansas once they get all the kinks worked out and get it working right.
One day.
Yeah. I mean, it's just too many people, even the Neanderthals are moving forward and realizing that they've got to have internet, right? And they want to have smartphones and so on and so forth. So they're going to want to have wireless. And so, I mean, I think everybody ultimately is going to want this. Even the holdouts, right? Eventually going to cave and say, okay, well, we've got to have it into the house.
Yeah, I agree.
I mean, 10 years from now, can you imagine a house not having internet service or a building or any kind of a facility?
Well, I mean, it's pretty much like that now, where everyone's just about having it, with the exception of people like way out.
Well, Dan was making the point, and I agree that there's a number of places in Kansas City that weren't signing up for it.
Well, that's because they didn't have computers, though.
Yeah, but what I'm saying is 10 years from now, I think that's going to change. I think almost everybody will have some kind of devices that they're going to want to have internet in their home.
Right.
Whether it be phones or whatever, and they're not going to want to always use them over the cellular. They might want to use them over Wi-Fi.
I agree with that.
And so they're going to need some kind of internet. They might even have their refrigerators or their microwave ovens or whatever wanting to use the internet.
Yeah.
So I would say 90%, at least, 10 years from now, at least 90% of the abodes will want to be connected. And so I can't imagine a company not being able to make money with that kind of connection rate.
One of the things, though, you're probably right, if not sooner, but the applications have to get there. That's what's so exciting about, like, the ATTU verse, the Google Fiber project, whatever they're doing in Austin. They have a thing. They have municipal broadband in Bristol, in Virginia, and I think in Tennessee, and the hardware comes first, then the applications come. Just like the Mac Pro is a great example. It's a beast of a computer, but really, Final Cut's about the only thing that fully utilizes that graphics capability. But other applications are going to come. So a MacBook Pro or a Mac Pro, the C-3PO looking thing, or Death Star looking thing, whatever, that is going to be far more functional in 2 years than it is today, because the applications have to come. So in a few years, there's going to be all kinds of applications. Now that there's a customer base that has gigabit, there will be more applications that utilize that, and it will be more attractive. The problem they're having in Kansas City, and Google said this, is that they don't see a value factor in the lower income areas. There's a lot of renters, so they don't want to spend the $250 or whatever it is to install, because they might not be there for that long. They don't see a value proposition. They want to use Facebook and Twitter, and their internet's just fine for that, or Facebook and email, browsing the web. They don't. I mean, if I had gigabit versus the 50 down, 10 up that I have, and I pay what Cadeas pays, $1.20, $1.10, whatever it is, but I get 50 and 5 because I'm in rural Virginia. In California, there's more options. Just like if I was in Northern Virginia, and Virginia has the fastest internet of the 50 states because the government's largely based here, and a lot of companies that leech off the government are based here, and they need broadband, and the internet started here. It's kind of the center of it, if there is a center. Not really. It's a series of tubes. But anyway, I think it will become, wow, I can do that. It'd be the equivalent of when we were on dial-up and we saw YouTube on a modern computer. It was like, holy smokes, I can watch Hulu or Xfinity or YouTube, all these things that you wouldn't dream of being able to do on dial-up.
The thing that is going to be the breakout thing is when they realize that they're going to be able to watch Hooping Live and Audrey Scherer in 4K streaming live Monday nights at 9 o'clock.
Basically, that's in 4K or 8K. I think you're working on a secret 8K experiment for Hooping Live.
I mean, if she was in 8K, let me tell you something. If she was in 8K, they'd all want to run out and get gigabit up and down. Absolutely.
All right, next up, and this is just kind of in the same vein. This isn't really, it's just kind of sad, but it's typical that this is necessary. Uber, which is having the same sorts of problems that Tesla's having, whereas in some states, Texas, I think in Virginia, they're not allowed to sell their cars. The way Tesla works is they have a swap policy. If your car breaks, I think right now he's putting out the Model S. It has a warranty forever, and if something goes wrong, a crew shows up. They take your Model S. They give you a loaner Model S. They take it to a central facility somewhere instead of in every town. Like all the different dealers have a dealership in every town, and in order to be a dealer, you have to sell at least 6 cars a year in Virginia or whatever it is. You have to have a repair facility on the premises because these laws date back to when there were all these fly-by-night Tucker-type car companies, and people would buy stuff and then they'd be screwed. You couldn't get parts, couldn't get them fixed. So they require a local presence. Well, the Tesla model is that they just swap your car out. So there's no need for a dealership in every town. But if you don't meet that requirement, and they can't sell directly in Virginia.
Who told you they have a forever warranty? I don't think
I
they're
think they have
forever.
some kind of crazy-ass warranty.
They changed their warranty to be unlimited miles in 8 years.
Oh, okay. So
Yeah,
you
which
drive
that was
as
what
much
the
as you-
that was what the Prius was. When I bought my Prius 10 years ago, it was 8 years, 100,000 miles.
No, this one is 8 years unlimited miles.
Okay.
okay,
All right,
so
well-
that's where I got confused. But anyway, he's trying to innovate, right? He's saying our model does not require, in the same way that Walmart and Target, they don't have butchers in the stores anymore. They have a central facility where they cut the meat and process it and package it, and they ship it out to each store because that's more efficient. Same way with Tesla, same way with Uber. But they're getting so much pushback from the yellow cabs in the case of Uber. I'm using that as a generic term. It could be whatever cabs in your town. Tesla, pushback from the local car dealers. And I adore the local car dealers. They're some of our best advertisers. It's so now Uber has hired David Plouffe, former campaign manager for Barack Obama twice. And let's not kid ourselves. They're buying someone who knows how to work the system, and they're buying a Rolodex. And it shouldn't be necessary. I lament this, but this is so common. We saw the same thing that the Comcast NBC Universal merger. You saw one of the FCC commissioners who voted to approve it, then resigned, and within like a couple months had a big job at Comcast NBCU.
I'm shocked.
I mean, I'm shocked. I tell you that there's gambling going on in the establishment. So
Now, Dan, before you move on with all this, there is a Tesla service facility right there in Rockville. So if you can arrange for us to do a tour of it and do a little story on it,
that'd be cool. Yeah.
it's right there in Rockville. You know exactly where it is.
But can you believe that they literally have showrooms? Here are the Teslas. You can do a test drive. I can answer any of your questions. I can tell you how it works, how long the battery works. How much is it? Oh, you'll have to go to the website. How do I buy one? Tesla.com. So they can't sell you a vehicle, right? But it's insane. And so I guarantee you, in this case of Uber, we're going to see a change because they bought this guy. And then, he got a job. He's in the private sector now. Good for him. But it shouldn't be necessary to pluck the president's of the United States' twice successful campaign manager in order to simply get justice that's due you. But that's the way the system works. He who has the gold makes the rules. And if one side is donating money to all the politicians, you've got to figure out, how to. I wish innovation didn't have such an uphill climb all the time. And I guess it's always been like this, right?
And yeah, exactly. I mean, look at Tucker. He was the perfect example of
There's a good argument. If I looked at the Wikipedia article, which I use as a general. If it's controversial, I always go to the sources. But if it's like, what country is this animal found in usually, and what's his lifespan, you can usually just trust that stuff, right? But in a case like this, I actually looked at the sources. There is an argument to be made in Tucker's case that he never did intend to sell cars. That it was an overly glamorous, overly positive movie. It was a great movie, and I want to believe that that's true.
Well, yeah, I'm sure they exaggerate everything, but I'm also comfortable in believing that there were people messing with him.
Absolutely.
So
But it's not, based
there
on
was
what I
corruption.
read, I don't think it's an open and shut case that he absolutely was intending to build vehicles and that everything was above board and he was just totally screwed over and it's an American tragedy. I don't buy that movie synopsis. And I would encourage you guys watching now or later, most watch afterward, 10 times as many watch afterward than during. But we love your comments and stuff. To check that out and do some reading and tell me if I'm wrong or right or what your thoughts are. That'd be great. Anything else on Uber Pluff?
Well,
Cadeas Kalut, how was your Google Plus week, sir?
Interesting. Just a lot of joyriding all week, from here to there and everywhere. So that, and then a lot of Google Plus battles.
What's your
With-
average texts per mile?
My average text per mile with Glass, it's makes it so easy. So it's just like having a conversation. So
You worried
I
about getting a
couldn't even
ticket?
count 'em.
Is that technically illegal?
No, it's fine. It's not illegal because the product is not even out yet. So it's got to exist to make a law.
No, that one
So,
lady got a ticket. What state was she
Yeah,
in?
it was throughout. Cecilia, yeah, her ticket got throughout.
Okay.
They said don't bring it in our courtroom because you can't prove that the person was actually using it. Just because it's right here, that would imply that I'm using it the whole time. So you'd have to prove that, and they can't prove it, so they stopped pulling people over for it.
So I could have a phone. You can have GPS in front of you, right? In California?
In California, you can't have a screen ahead of the seat, the front seat, or whatever the case is. But people still have GPSs, and I've had police officers pull up to me, and I have all my stuff mounted up, and they don't even say anything. So
You can't have it. So they think it's safer for you to do this to see your GPS than to have it right here where you can keep an eye on things, right?
they used to. Now they realize it's a waste of their time to pull you over because the judge is just gonna throw it out.
Okay.
So.
Justice. All right. So we'll go ahead and postpone our chat with Michael and go to Craig. At least he's not snoring. We've had that happen. Oh, that's the audience's job, not the panelists. Craig Shipp, how was your Google Plus week, sir? And what do you have coming up?
Well, I've got a couple of events this weekend, and by the way, I just checked on my iPhone, and my iPhone is claiming as of 11 a.m., from about 11 a.m. on, it's only 40% chance of rain. So, and your device said it was going to rain all day, so we'll see which one ends up being correct.
My advice said in
Craig,
Bentonville,
they both source the
Virginia.
same location. They get the information from the same source.
See, they're,
What did yours say, Dan? What percentage did yours say?
it didn't. It just had like a cloud, and I think 4 of 10 bars were. No, I'm kidding. But no, mine was for Bentonville, Virginia.
Well, it's widespread rain that's coming in, so I'm sure it'll be the same here as there.
It also is still alerting me that I need to get ready because on July 4, 2013, at 7 p.m., I've got this hangout I got to go to, and I'm going to email Craig to warn him
Show's
that
over.
he needs to show up with us.
Now, Dan, you were bragging about your battery. I don't know if you can see this. Can you see what my battery is showing?
Back up just a little bit. We got a little focus issue. I can't see it, buddy. What is it on?
Can you see it? It's at the top there. Kadesh, can you see it?
It's out of focus. It's not capturing. Move your
What about-
hand and see.
I can see your battery, but I can also show you one from the HTC One that's just the same. And I can also pull out a Samsung Galaxy
Well,
S5.
mine says, what I was trying to say was mine says 93%. And it's been
I can
Okay, so
pull
let
out
me-
a Galaxy S5 that ran all day long as a hotspot and was an active hotspot streaming audio to this device,
Uh-huh.
and it's still at 70%. I was even shocked when I looked at that. So
I'll
believe
check
me,
mine.
turn on your hotspot and see how long it lasts.
I'll tell you what, I'm telling you though, these people that complain about battery life on these phones, every other sentence you hear these people, oh my God, if they'll just improve the battery life. Geez, though, flip. My first cell phone, I could talk on it for half an hour and I had to plug the damn thing in, right? I mean, that was it. I mean, these phones are fantastic. And
That's
people are
only
worried
because
about the
you're
battery.
talking on the phone. Everybody else that's complaining about battery life, they're watching movies, they're doing other stuff on their phone. They're not talking on it. That's literally the difference.
Yeah, but I mean, even if I watch movies and YouTube and stuff like that, I mean, I guess yeah, if I sat there and watched for hours and hours, but I mean,
Well,
you could
this
still-
we
They
got
want-
into
that's
this.
the thing. They want a battery that's gonna last all day when they spend 2 hours watching a
and a
Netflix
lot of them
movie.
want it to last 2 or 3 days. I'm like, you can't plug it in at night. I mean, what is
Well,
going
we got
on here?
okay. We got. I mean, 2 or 3 days is better than one day, or half a day. But the
But I mean, you can't charge it every night. What's wrong with charging the phone every night? I don't understand.
you
that.
can charge it every night, but if you didn't have to charge it, that's better. I mean, remember the old watches we had that you'd replace the. I mean, the battery would last 2 years. That's better than every day. But anyway, so I'm gonna plug mine in and see what it is.
And
it's not
remember
gonna-
this too, Craig, that even at nighttime, a lot of times people are still using their phones. They may be laying in the bed watching videos until they fall asleep. They may be
And then they forget to plug it in before they fall asleep.
right. And so now the next day's here, and you're like, "Oh shoot, I forgot to charge my phone. Now I'm dead all day."
Yeah.
All right,
So
so I'm
basically,
at
you have-
91%.
Basically, as manufacturers, we have to allow for the idiot factor. You're right. I forgot about that.
Because
And then
everyone is
Craig-
not
Dan
like
is
Craig
at
is stupid.
91%.
Public
So-
schools. I mean, we've had public schools now for the last 40 or 50 years.
So
and
we're at 90.
seeing-
Okay, hang on, Craig. 91%, and it was at 96% when I started the show or when I started the Hangout at like 8:20. So 8, 9, 10, about 3 hours. I lost 4%, but it's a new battery, and the reason we talked about this is because Craig, we were discussing that viral video for the what was it called, the thing where you order razors. The Shave Club for Men or whatever, and the video went viral. It was really funny.
It's Harry's. Harry's.
Yeah, but we're discussing that, and then he was discussing Harry's, which is, I guess, Leo. They're a sponsor of Leo's show, or he's an affiliate, or both. And so I mentioned that I said, I got a new battery from the Sprint store. They just gave me one. I was like, cool, brand new one. And my phone, the battery life was dramatically better with the brand new battery. So I said, I joked. I said, well, we should start a subscription like the Razor Club for batteries. And then he quipped, or you could just get an iPhone.
With a decent battery.
And then
to
just
start with.
coincidentally, I was looking at Flipboard, and like the fourth story was a story that Apple has started a battery replacement program because a small number of iPhone 5s have a battery issue. And
Craig,
then
you do understand that phone is one of the worst batteries in the industry, right?
Mine has been
time.
great. Yeah,
He's-
mine
he
has
says
been
it
great.
charge. How long does it take you if you're on like 20%, right? Long day, you're dead. To get up to 100%, how long does it take? And yours is about a
Plug it
year
in.
old, right?
Oh yeah, if you plug it in about less than an hour, it'll be fully charged again. It charges very fast.
Mine
Right,
is
because it's a
nowhere-
small battery. It's only 1,800 milliamps. That's a
Well,
really
and
small
also
battery.
they charge at a higher rate because of the connector. Can deliver more current than a what do you call it?
And you have a small battery, Craig. It's only 1,800 milliamps.
But,
Yeah,
but
but, I mean,
small's
if you-
relative,
if
Cadeas.
you
He has
have
it's got
system-
a tiny screen, so that
if
18
you have
might
a
be.
system that's efficient at using the battery right, then you're not going to use as much energy. You don't need as big
That's
a
not,
battery.
but that's not your phone. The way you use your phone is not how everybody else uses it. If you use your phone just like everybody else, you would have the same complaints as everybody else. That phone does not make it through the day if you're doing all the things that we listed. You don't do that. All you do is talk on the phone.
Well, no, I mean I
Might
use
as well
it
turn
quite a
cellular
bit.
data off.
Craig and
I
I,
watch
Craig and I
YouTube
regularly.
videos.
Okay, Craig, you and I regularly talk for hours on the phone. Are you normally on your phone, or are you on one of your IP devices?
I always use this phone.
Okay, so how? I mean, like today, did you have to recharge it, or you?
No.
No, he doesn't have to.
But you've charged. I'm sure you plugged it in today because if you're on 90-something%.
93% right now. No,
Are
I
you,
haven't plugged it because I haven't used it that much today. But some days I'll use it more, and it'll be down to like 50% at the end of the day. But it almost never gets below 50.
What service are you on?
AT&T.
What are you 2G, 3G, 4G? What's it
4G.
say?
4.
Right now it says 4G
Yeah.
on your phone? Or LTE?
It says AT&T, and then it has the the symbol for Wi-Fi next to it. I think when I'm connected to Wi-Fi, I think that
Turn your Wi-Fi off real quick. I'm curious on what network, which set of towers you're running on, because that tells us what generation of towers you're
right
hitting.
now, since I'm in the back part of the building, the tower's on the other side. Right now, I've only got 3 dots instead of 5, 3 out of 5 on my.
Right, but what's instead of the Wi-Fi symbol, what do you have now?
Yeah, it doesn't say LTE. If I go into
What does
the
it say?
other side, it'll probably say LTE.
What's it say right now?
It just has 3 dots. It says AT&T, and it has 3 dots out of 5 on the signal string.
And nothing next to it. So no, when you turn the Wi-Fi off, nothing replaced it?
I'll turn it off right now. Hold on.
Okay. Because that's what I meant. Because I know you always say it lasts long, but I'm wondering.
Okay, so the Wi-Fi is off. Now it does say LTE.
Okay, so you're hitting LTE, but you're not quite using it, because when you make a call, you're not using that network. Whenever you make a call, your phone goes back on AT&T. It'll go back to HSPA Plus. So that's a 3G network. So it's 3G network enhanced. So you're not even using the things that drain your battery. LTE is one of those things that drains. It's just a battery hog, but you're not watching videos. You're not doing anything relating to data, massive data. So you're not hammering that battery like everybody else is. Because the only time you use your phone is to make a call, and you're not using LTE then.
Well, but I use it for Twitter. I use it for Facebook.
Twitter
and
doesn't count.
I do
Facebook
watch
doesn't
some
count.
YouTube. I do watch some YouTube videos on it, but I'm always connected to Wi-Fi when I'm doing that almost all
So
the
you're
time.
still not using LTE even at that point.
Yeah.
So that's why your battery lasts so much longer than everybody else's. Try using LTE for a whole day and actually watch stuff and browse the web, and then you'll be like, this battery sucks. Because that's one of the biggest complaints why people get out of the iPhone. It's battery life. It does not last.
I hear them complaining. Yep, I hear them. But I'll
So-
tell you what, it also, if you do need to charge it, it charges very fast. So
It
I
is
mean,
the fastest phone on the
they-
market as far as charging
They
battery.
should probably buy a car charger if they're having all those problems.
They do.
Plug it in.
The 5S is the fastest charging, Kadeas?
Yeah, but it's mainly because the battery is small. It's not a. It
But-
doesn't.
but-
My iPad charges pretty quick because if you've got the what do you use? You use a micro USB? What
Craig?
connector do you
Craig.
have on your thing?
You're right. Craig, iPads take a long time to charge, but they have massive batteries on the inside.
Yeah, well, it depends on how much you run it down. Mine tops off, in 2 hours, something like that.
You're about 3. Should be about 3 or 4.
But hang on,
So-
guy. Let me challenge Kadeas on the iPhone has a small battery. It's only relative to what it needs. Craig's screen is dramatically smaller than mine, the Note 2, right? My Note 2 has a 3100 milliamp battery, I think. But it needs it because the screen
plus the operating system is more
If we
efficient.
take the screen out of it, if we take the operating system out of it, we still have that LTE network. And you're asking your, and you said you got AT&T, so you're asking your phone to broadcast a signal to a tower at the most 5 miles away from you. That requires a lot of electricity to do. So and versus when you do Wi-Fi,
Well, see,
Wi-Fi
that's
is
the
in the
other-
next room.
That's the other advantage that I have is also my AT&T tower is very close. If I'm on that other side of the building, I literally have a signal strength pegged. And that's where I usually am. I'm in the back corner now, and so that also helps when you're close to the tower because
But
the
if
phone
you're
doesn't
too
have to
close
put
to the
out.
tower, you're not connected to that tower. Because it does an umbrella effect, and there's a radius in which if you're too close to that tower, you can't get signal from that tower. So that's why it does a triangle. That's why they set them up basically in triangles where you could be up to 3 towers based on where you're located at in between these 3 towers.
Yeah, well, all I know is my signal strength is usually pegged. I mean,
That's interesting, Kadeas, because I've seen that. Like I'll be driving by. I've done the test. There's a Sprint office in a tower, so I'm literally driving by. I mean, I'm like 50 feet away from it, and I was like, why don't I have 4 bars or 5 or 6, but whatever it is? So you're
Right,
saying
'cause you're
it's
too
because
close that that's not
it's
your
the
tower.
curves, the curves of any kind of radio signal. It knows how close it is. Does it take into account, like if you're 1 mile away versus 6 miles away or 5 miles away max, right? Does it do a dB reading on the signal level and
Yeah, there are apps that
transmit
you
at a
can
higher
go and
level if it's farther away, so your battery won't last as long as if you're 4 miles away as if you're 1 mile away?
There's apps that you can download that'll actually tell you exactly what the tower what do you want to say, serial number, whatever, the tower code, what's it, CID. It'll tell you the tower CID, and you can actually go and look that up and see which tower you're connected to and what towers are around you. And so there are apps that'll do that, and I think there's one app that built it all in one, so you can see it. You're connected to this tower. It'll show you where that tower is roughly.
To answer your question, Dan, the phone is only going to put out as much as it has to put out to reach that tower. It's going to regulate how much it transmits. It's not going to transmit any more than it has to.
Interesting. I didn't know
Because it
that.
doesn't want to waste.
Right, it's always
going to
choose
waste battery.
Right, so I was going to choose the strongest signal.
Miles France, Craig Ships, or Miles France, it's not the size of the phone, it's how you use it.
That's right. Absolutely. I demonstrated that earlier. If you folks want to look, go back to timestamp, whatever.
Cybernaut, Craig Ships' first cell phone is part of a brick retaining wall now.
I still have it right here.
He made money from it. CNN paid you.
Yep. I've made money on my 5S too. It's paid for itself a couple times over.
I certainly paid for my camera with my Duck Dynasty video.
On the troll video I did.
Oh yeah, you still get comments. You still.
Oh my gosh, it's still going strong.
I shared one of these things. A couple on Ferguson. Oh my God, it's like my notifications. A minute doesn't go by without someone commenting on it, and I get a notification. It's like now I'm reluctant to share YouTube stuff, and I'm not making money. I mean, if I was making money from it, like the Duck Dynasty
Yeah, we
thing,
got to get you started on doing your own little news pieces like we talked about. And
yeah,
so
I'm
you
gonna do something. I'm gonna start doing some vlogging. Craig's
Yes.
trolling
I
me.
think I just realized we're not just talking here back and forth. We actually have a show going on.
We're done. All right, so in summary, David Plouffe has joined Uber as quote-unquote campaign manager.
No, we
And-
was doing the How's Your Google Plus week, and Craig got us talking about iPhones.
Yeah, you got what event are you going to tomorrow, Craig? If someone needs a hat,
Oh, by the way, you're not going to believe this. I was at the parade.
that guy.
I was at the parade. I should have filmed him.
Oh
The
my God.
same guy walks up to me, and he starts a conversation this time. He didn't ask for the hat right away, right? He starts a conversation about the Civil War reenactment that I was at and so on, and blah, 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 and how heavy those cannons are and stuff like that. And he talks to me, for a minute or two about the Civil War stuff, right? And then he looks me right in the eye, and he says, "You have a hat for me?"
This
swear to
guy,
God.
he follows Craig around to all the events. He even went to Winchester, Virginia, which is a good hour and 20 minutes away from you or something.
Yeah.
And there's the guy, and this was my introduction to this person. And he went up to Craig and asked him, "Can I have your hat?" or something, right? And I was like, "Oh my God, what the hell was that about?" And he's like, "The guy follows me everywhere. He goes
I
to
made
he's
the
an event.
mistake one
He's
time.
there's like adrenaline freaks, and he's an event freak."
I made a mistake one time. I gave him a hat. I actually gave him one. I was loading the Segway.
You fed the stray cat. You put
Yeah, I was
milk
loading
out
the
for the
Segway into the back of the car, and a guy comes up and asked me for a hat. And this was years ago. This was like 4 or 5 years ago. And at that time, we were actually giving away some baseball hats, right? And I had a couple extra ones in the car, and I gave him a brand new one with a tag on it and everything. And ever since then, he's been running into me periodically at these events, and he'll ask me for a hat. It's funny. I mean, and I told him, the last 2 years I've told him we don't give them away anymore, right?
This has been
I mean,
years.
It's been years ago, yeah.
You
And
fed
I
the
told him-
cat 2 years ago some milk, and it's still coming around.
Well, I gave him that hat maybe 4 years ago. And for the last 2 years, I've been telling him we don't give them away anymore, right? I just don't have them. I don't buy extra hats anymore. But he still keeps asking for a hat. I got to dig one out somewhere, and I got to give him one next time. I mean, he's just got to get a hat.
You got to get him to sign terms of service. We got to modernize your procedure. My Google Plus week was good. I got attacked in a town council meeting. My senior writer got attacked. There's this crazy thing that they in Front Royal. There's a law against groups of traveling gypsies or people who practice the magical arts like fortune tellers, clairvoyants, or tarot card readers. And the way it's written, you could tell it's like from the 50s or 60s or something. And so some local store had a tarot card reader come in. and there were 50 people freaking out about this, and it was ridiculous. They were like, they're known to be affiliated with the gays and lesbians, and the lesbians are going to come here and steal your daughters. And I mean, just over the top, like the book burning scene in what was the movie about the baseball thing, Craig? The Field of Dreams. Remember the book burning scene?
Okay.
With the town meeting about books, and she said you're a book burner or whatever, and it was just, I mean, so crazy. But they were naming us by name because they didn't like the coverage, because we were basically saying they're idiots, and everyone who doesn't think just like I do, or everyone who's not exactly like me is I hate you, is kind of their attitude, to paraphrase a chapter title from Howard Stern's first book. And NBC just picked it up in DC, and I imagine others will, but it's just unbelievable. It's like they want to get us the stocks, the Pilgrim stocks, and throw tomatoes at you. But they referred to my newspapers as a bird cage liner rag or something, and the one guy or the one lady railed against my reporter. My senior reporter's been covering this for like 3 minutes, just trashing him so bad that the mayor called the reporter afterward to apologize for letting it go on for so long. Then one of the council members said, now we're going to decide who's a journalist, who's a Christian, but it went on, and it was epic. And he was like shouted down, and he said, excuse me, it's my turn to talk. You get to talk in the next election day. And then another councilman said, and they will, because he was like one of the people who support this ban on anyone who's not just like that. I mean, I don't know anything about tarot card readers. I swear to God, I wouldn't recognize a group of traveling gypsies if they bit me in the ass. I don't care. Believe what you want to believe. Do what you want to do. But this fear-mongering is just crazy. It's not far removed from the Taliban, except they're Christians instead of Muslims. And if you want to read about this, it's fascinating. You can look at NBCWashington.com, Google Fortune Teller Front Royal. Fortune Teller Front Royal, F-R-O-N-T Royal. You'll see it. Or go to our websites, WarrenCountyVA.com or FrederickCounty.com, and the newspaper's right there. We got 8 different articles about it with an epic cover. It's a beautiful cover. And this show is recorded August 22nd, 2014. August 22nd, 2014. So you want to look for the early September issue from 2014 if you're looking at this in the future. And but it's just amazing. It's 2014, and we're going after the witches and the broomsticks, and just crazy. So anyway, that was my week. And then we got the newspaper out somehow. So all that happened. But we have 2 programs. This program is Google Plus Week. It's every Friday night, 8:30 p.m. Eastern, 5:30 Pacific. Our second program is Our Android Week. That is Monday nights at 9 Eastern, 6 Pacific. So Friday night, 8:30 Eastern, Google Plus Week. Monday night, Our Android Week at 9 Eastern, 6 Pacific. We want to thank you all very much for commenting. We appreciate that, for tweeting, all that stuff. And please tell your friends about the show if they're interested in tech and Apple trolls. We've got it all. We're a full feature. We even have a sleeping guy. So we've got all the demos targeted. So thank you very much again. And until next time, have a wonderful Google Plus Week. One more thing. Sorry. Tomorrow, Saturday, August 23rd, just after 11 o'clock CBS News, I'll be on the Virginia Talk Radio Network talking the McDonald trial, former governor of Virginia, alleged corruption trial, and the crazy story that I just outlined about the war on the magical arts in Front Royal, Virginia. That's VirginiaTalkRadioNetwork.com. Just after the 11 o'clock a.m. Eastern Time, CBS News will be on. So take care. Peace. Watch out for those witches.